the ashes, the spirits light up the night.
Now, we're live from the Untold Radio Network. It's Untold Radio AM with Monster Quest producer, host Doug Hajicek, and co-host Jeff Perrella Jr. Untold Radio AM is going live right now.
And here we are. Hello, everyone.
Hello, Jeff.
Mr. Doug.
How are you?
Doing good.
Did you have a good Memorial weekend?
I worked the entire time.
Oh, yeah, I kind of did too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyhow. But we survived. It was good weather that we missed.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't really get outside at all. I was working the whole time.
Welcome, everybody, to Untold Radio, episode 246.
246, yep.
Late spring episode. And they're the hardest ones to do. Late spring. Well, yeah, because wouldn't you rather be outside at a campfire right now?
I'm not going to comment. I'd rather be right here doing the show with you.
Joking. Anyhow, so tonight we have an amazing guest.
Yeah.
He's been with us before, but we haven't had him on in a while. Preston Dennett. He's an author of over 30 books.
Yeah, a lot of books.
MUFON, UFO investigator.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're going to be joined by a surprise guest.
Cool.
Somebody that Preston works with.
Yeah.
So we won't give it away. Stay tuned.
That'll be fun.
Then we're going to have a tech breakdown. We're going to have some clips, a little weird news that you don't really care about. or is it that they don't need, but they do care about? Something like that.
Sure. Why
Something
not?
like that. Okay.
Something like that.
But a lot of, it really hit me the other day that so many kids, young people especially, don't even know what Memorial Day is for.
Adults don't know what it's for. It's shocking how many people don't know what it's for.
They think it's
or at best they think it's for all people who served, and it's
or for all people who have died.
Right.
Period. Just all your passed on loved ones.
Yeah.
And it's just not true. I mean, it's for people that died in active duty.
Died in uniform, yep.
Yep, died in uniform for your rights. So I just wanted to...
It's a very special day.
Pass that on. Maybe we'll get through to one person that was, but it's used to be celebrated on May 30th. And I think that started in 1868.
Oh, that long ago, huh?
Yeah. And then they moved it to the last week in May. And it's kind of the people associated with the start of summer because it's when they open the beaches. They have the lifeguards on duty.
Yep.
And so that's kind of what screws it all up. It's kind of that, that holiday that's got two meanings for people.
Yep.
But anyhow, so we definitely want to observe all the people that gave their lives in active duty. And it's just so many. You drive by Fort Snelling here in St. Paul, and you drive for miles and you see these tombstones that go on for almost.
I was at Arlington in D.C. for the first time.
Oh, I've never been there.
Last February. Oh my gosh, it's something else.
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
it's really a special place.
I would imagine that that's one of the first military burial grounds, correct?
I don't know if it's the first, but it's
one of the first.
It's the national. I mean, it's the first national one, I believe. And oh man, it just never ends. It's so big.
How does one get into Arlington? Do you know?
That's a good question. Not everybody. You need to do something special. I mean, something significant. Not everybody gets in there.
Maybe somebody can look that up.
Yeah, good to know.
And then today I got a really weird warning. I've never seen anything like this. So there was a weather warning. It should be on your phone too, Jeff.
Oh, I didn't get anything. No.
It was a warning, and I've never heard of this, about cold cloud tornadoes.
Never heard of that.
Cold cloud tornadoes. So this weather alert comes in, and it says, how they call it, cold cloud funnels. They didn't call it tornadoes. They called it funnels. It said they should be weak, and they probably won't touch the ground. However, if you feel your safety is threatened, please seek shelter. I've never heard of this.
I've never heard of that.
Cold funnels in the
It'd be
sky.
good.
You know what I mean, where is it going to end? Whirlybird warnings, fish jumping warnings,
Flying fish
I get
warnings.
the sprinkle warnings. It's going to sprinkle.
Sharknadoes.
Oh my gosh, that's kind of nuts. Anyhow, enough of that crap. Let's I wanted to also, before we get into any news, I want to mention again to remind people about the New York Bigfoot Conference coming up in October 3rd and 4th.
Yep.
Put on by our own. In fact, I'm hoping Loretta's in chat. Oh, she is.
Yep. I
In
saw it.
chat right now. Loretta and Mark DeWorth are putting this on. First annual. Reserve time to get there, if you live in the area, or, these things are definitely worth to go out of town for.
Great guest list, too. They've got a really good guest list.
Yep. Let's go ahead and, there's a little spot. Let's go ahead and play that again.
Coming this fall to New York, the first annual New York Bigfoot Conference. On October 3rd and 4th, 2025 at the Holiday Inn Conference Center in Johnstown, Gloversville, with an amazing speaker lineup, including Dr. Jeff Meldrum, Cliff Barrickman, Renee Holland, Adam Davies, and Dr. Esteban Sarmiento, with Mark DeWorth as Master of Ceremonies. The event is hosted by Loretta Collins and Mark DeWorth. Tickets go on sale soon to the New York Bigfoot Conference. Don't miss it.
I had to sneak away to get a Diet Pepsi.
Yeah, look, they got a great. It should be a good conference. Great guest list.
It certainly should. So I bet Loretta's excited for those tickets to go on sale. That's all I've got to talk about before we go to the news.
Are you ready for news? Is that what you're saying?
Heck yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's do some news.
Untold Radio news that can be a bit weird is right now.
All right, the first thing, I had to die. I just about died laughing when I read this. I mean, it's a cool story, but it says photographer thrilled after a trail camera shows elusive apex predator after years of waiting. Okay, great. And then the headline, it says, it was such an explosion of joy, he said, in the headline.
Odd choice of words.
I thought, that's kind of a poor choice of words. And I thought, well, if we ever get Bigfoot video, real good, video, like even something like this, I'm definitely not going to explode from joy.
I don't think I'll ever explode from joy.
No.
At least on a camera.
No, don't ever let your joy explode you, ever. But anyhow, so this is a Sumatran tiger. And a friend of mine did the documentary, I think it's called The Last Sumatran Tiger.
They're very rare. There's not many left.
That was like 25 years ago. It was Tom Stewart produced that. And through him, I got highly educated on the Sumatran tiger. Yeah, there's not many of them left. But this apparently 4 years of working and waiting. And I'm going to guess he was funded and worked full time. I'm going to guess he was there full time doing nothing but game trail cameras, every day. And that's what it takes. Oh, how many they say there's only
Great picture.
600 of these.
Beautiful animal.
Yeah. The Sumatran tiger is one of the rarest cats of all. The International Fund for Animal Welfare has estimated there are only 600 left in the wild.
Yikes.
And God knows what's different between the Sumatran and the Siberian. I would imagine the Siberian's bigger.
I don't remember.
You know what's weird? A Siberian tiger population would thrive in Minnesota.
Probably would.
They would thrive. They love snow. They love the cold weather. They love the water. And so...
Is the Bengal the biggest one? I think the Bengal's the biggest one.
I don't know. They're from India.
Yeah, just about all over South.
I'm pretty sure it's the Siberian because of Bergman's rule.
Yeah.
The colder it is, the bigger the animal. And the India
could be
hot.
Yeah.
I think they're the meanest in India. Based on all the people that get chomped on.
I can't imagine anything more terrifying to run into in the bush.
Well, that's what I was saying. Although they could survive like in the Midwest, Siberians, I'm kind of glad they're not here.
Yeah.
Sad I go on a bike ride and you end up, getting chased by a tiger. No thanks.
Yeah.
Did you ever see that clip with the elephant? The people are riding the elephant and the tiger just explodes out of the bush and jumps and leaps right up to where they're riding on top of the elephant.
No, I haven't.
Oh, well, I'll look that up for next week.
Yeah, that's crazy.
All right.
Terrifying.
It is, and it's a terrifying clip. I don't imagine the people survived, but I don't really know. So then next, officials celebrate an astounding feat after removing more than, 36,000 invasive lizards in a mere 2 months.
Wow.
And they're having the same problem with these things in Florida. These iguanas, green iguanas. I mean, they're everywhere down there. And they're everywhere in Puerto Rico and all sorts of places.
All from people letting them go. Just terrible.
Yeah, cute pets. It says they I don't know how they got them. It doesn't even mention how they catch them or dispose of them. I mean, they're quite beautiful and they're quite smart, obviously, so it's sad. But apparently they have an app designed for reporting natural disasters and things that threaten crops. And apparently you can report the green iguanas. So maybe they should I don't think there's too much of an organized effort in Florida yet. But
I didn't know about that in Florida. I mean, I know that they have problems with snakes in Florida. I didn't know about the iguanas.
Oh, these things. Oh, look it up.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Oh, boy. I think a lot of the hunters down in Florida use air guns.
Did you see there was a big boa constrictor caught in Minnesota?
Say what?
I'll send you. I'll find the link. It was obviously something that somebody let loose.
Where?
Not somewhere around the southern Minnesota. I don't think too far. But it was big, and I think somebody killed it accidentally, hit it with something, and so they were retrieving it. It's a big snake. I couldn't. That would shock the heck out of me seeing that here. You just don't expect that.
Well, yeah, heck yeah. Well, maybe they're breeding here too. Who knows? So, how many of these green iguanas do you think there are in Taiwan's forests? Take a guess.
Well, I saw the number in your notes.
Well, okay, I didn't know that. 200,000 of these things, and they're actually threatening the crops, like maize, red beans, gourds, and all that stuff. They eat veggies.
And I think they have huge broods too. I think that's part of the problem, if memory serves, is that they have big broods.
Is that what you call them, broods?
Yeah, they lay a big a lot of eggs.
Clutch of eggs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the right word. Isn't that the right word? A brood? Well, a big nest is a brood?
Yes, sounds right.
I think it is. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
Probably is right. Next, NASA is monitoring a trio of house-sized asteroids that are skimming the Earth at hypersonic speed. Can you take your mouse and just pretend it's an asteroid, Jeff, and just swirl around there for effect? Low budget animation.
Yeah.
Could you do that?
It's so. Can't you see it? I am. Can't you see it?
No, we can't see your mouse.
It doesn't always work.
Even our low budget animation didn't work.
There we go. Is that?
Oh, there it is.
There we go.
There's the asteroid. Yes. Good job, Jeff.
Thanks.
So apparently this week, 5 asteroids, 5, they said a trio. Now already they say 5, good journalism, will fly past Earth close enough to be categorized as potentially hazardous. And apparently they call them PHAS. Get it? Potentially hazardous asteroids.
Yeah.
S is for the asteroids. However, NASA predicts that none will pose any real risk to the planet. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And for another 100 years. So apparently in 100 years, they get a little closer each pass. So apparently, was it 2 days ago, one passed. It missed us by 1,240,000 miles is all.
Is that all?
Much. Question is, what would it do if it hit McDonald's? What would happen? Burgers everywhere?
I think so. I think the burgers would be the least of the problem.
Oh my God. I always wonder because as we've talked about, we're whirling around the solar system, but the whole solar system, this is what scares me, is going through the Milky Way at 1,000,000 miles an hour into uncharted territory.
And the galaxy's moving too. Everything's moving. We're really.
Oh yeah, then you've got that going on. So we're traveling through the Milky Way, but then the Milky Way is also traveling. Yep. And God knows what's that in and what is fast. That. You know, it's like Horton, here's a who.
Yeah, we're moving. We're moving fast.
Yeah. And we're not always in known territory. We're never in known territory.
No.
It's amazing every day I wake up. All right. Next, a futuristic yacht makes an unprecedented achievement after transforming seawater into next-gen fuel.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that looks like quite a contraption there, doesn't it?
Yeah. So they're pulling hydrogen out, it looks like.
Yes. They're pulling hydrogen, but it's an onboard hydrogen maker on a ship. And as you know, ships consume a lot of fuel. Mm-hmm. Somebody told me Zuckerberg's yacht uses 96,000 gallons of, gasoline per month. There's, it's insane.
I wonder how they're doing that. If memory serves, I think it takes a lot of electricity to break that down.
Sure. But how are they getting the electricity? Or is it some of the hydrogen used to run a generator? And you have to get it. I don't know. See, and
I'm not sure how they would do that.
It explains it, but I was dumber after I read it. I knew less after I read it than before I started it.
Yeah.
So that apparently the company converts hydrogen to liquid organic hydrogen carriers, methyl cyclohexane, MCH, making it safer and more efficient to transport for land use. So apparently they're stabilizing the hydrogen, right?
Yeah, hydrogen is a great fuel. It's just really inconvenient to
you think?
Store.
Kapoof.
Yeah.
So apparently this ship is set to produce 200 liters of hydrogen in 2025, and that doesn't sound like much to me.
No.
200 liters? That's nothing.
Well, if it's liquid hydrogen, that's a lot of hydrogen.
Yeah, but only 200. What are you going to do with that? Go a few blocks with a big boat?
Well, liquid hydrogen turns into a lot of hydrogen vapor.
A lot of energy. I know, but I just wonder how far that 200 liters will take.
I don't know enough about that technology.
Big boat. I don't think much. A lot of times these technologies, these new things cost more than they
Right.
give, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or they pollute more than they actually produce. You got to look at this stuff a little kind of a, keen eye.
Yeah. Nothing's free.
Yeah, you don't want to just buy into, oh, it's all great, everything's free. Nah, doesn't work that way.
Nothing works that way.
Heck no. And then there's a new theory. This was the day of news that I didn't even understand. A new theory finally makes quantum gravity a reality and prove Einstein dead wrong. Yes. Wonderful. Yeah. Okay, so I read the article. And by the end of the article, I'm going blah, blah, blah. I'm just like, what? So it says physicists have developed a novel approach to solving one of the most persistent problems in theoretical physics, uniting gravity in the quantum world. Well, isn't gravity from the quantum world? So that's where I was lost, right?
No, that's kind of the big mystery is gravity doesn't work with trying to get a grand unified theory. Gravity doesn't really fit in. It's been a problem for a long time.
Somebody's trying to call me. Oh, maybe not. Oh, it's just, never mind. It's other alerts. It's about those cold funnels.
Oh, weird.
Okay, anyhow, it says at the heart of the proposal is rethinking how gravity behaves at the fundamental level. Well, that's bullcrap. We don't know we know how it behaves. There, I just dropped my Pepsi.
Sure. It's so simple.
It's so simple. You drop a rock, it's going to hit the ground. It says, but attempts to blend quantum theory and general relativity often run into fatal mathematical inconsistencies. It's because they're assuming gravity's something it's not. That's why they keep running into these roadblocks. My dad used to tell me, they're never going to figure out what gravity is. They may be able to figure out how to manipulate it, but they're never going to know what it is. The universe is going to keep that secret forever.
We'll figure it out eventually. It's just.
Well, I think we obviously can figure out how to manipulate it, but are we ever going to figure out what it really is? Even if we figure a way to completely get away from it, like with some kind of a floating, UFO craft. But are we going to really know what it is? Do you follow?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the problem. Anyhow, enough of that crap. But I read that article and I went, huh?
Yeah, that stuff gets hard to understand. It's hard to conceptualize. Yeah.
Well, then they write it.
I kind of get it. I don't 100% get it.
Well, then they write it like it's made for some professor.
Yeah, it's kind of, that's part of it's hard to have a simple explanation when you talk about that stuff.
Well, here's the last paragraph. Because the new model mirrors the structure of well-established quantum theories, it sidesteps the mathematical problems that have historically hindered efforts to quantize general relativity. But none of it's explained. So you're just like, whatever.
Yeah. Interesting. I don't know.
Beyond me. Say there's something not beyond me, and that's cameras.
Yeah, you know a little bit about that.
Yeah, I know a little bit. Let's do a quick tech breakdown. So the question tonight is, how small can a camera get that's powered by a battery and takes a micro SD card, right? That's the only, what is the smallest battery we have are LiPos, right? Lithium polymer batteries, correct? Do we have something new?
That I'm not sure.
I mean, that's probably the smallest. So you still
I
have
would think
to
so.
You have to have room for a battery.
Yeah.
And you have to have room for the lens, and usually 3.6 millimeters is about as small as you can go. And, micro SD cards are only so small.
Mm-hmm.
And so I show this photo. It's quite funny. Photo 7. So you see this. Oh, look, that got my eye. And I'm thinking, whoa, this is battery powered 4K. And I'm thinking, okay, well, that'll make a great camera trap for anybody trying to get whether it's UFOs or Bigfoot or whatever you're trying to do with it.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, oh, that's really small, but there's no way it cannot be. And I knew it couldn't be. So I find a picture of it, go to photo 8, the actual camera. And this thing's like 1.5 inches, almost an 1 3/4 inches by 1 3/4 inches.
Yeah.
A little bigger than what they're showing there with the
A
woman.
little misleading. Yeah.
Yeah, that's Adobe Photoshop. And I just wish they wouldn't do that. And I wished, Amazon wouldn't allow such false marketing. But that doesn't mean the camera is no good, right?
Right.
So the camera still has got a lot of features, and it's self-contained. I haven't been a great fan of Wise's. I look at a big giant box of failed ones here next to me.
Yeah.
I literally have a box. It's like this big. It's full of failed Wise cameras. The last 2 that I used, brand new, and they started buzzing and they burned out not too long after. I think the Wise cameras do better when they're running on batteries than when they're plugged in. I think that shortens their life if they're plugged in. But anyhow, back to this. So this camera is infrared. It ain't 4K. There's no way it's 4K. You couldn't get a 4K with that little lens to begin
I
with.
wouldn't think so. No.
So it's probably maybe 720 or maybe it's high def. Could be. Someone would have to test it, but it's good enough. Even if it's 720 pixels, plenty good.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's infrared, so that's cool. Self-contained, it's wireless, and it's Bluetooth. That means, and it takes an SD card, so you don't have to, put stuff in the cloud, but it does that too. So you've got basically everything you could ever dream of, and the price is like $39.
It's amazing how cheap that tech has gotten.
Yeah.
God, crazy.
So, and it's got motion detection.
Wow.
And it's, small enough where, yes, you can hide it. It's all black. You should be able to hide this thing. And I wanted to bring it up because there's a vast amount of these coming on the market.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to really study it. You got to look, okay, well, this one looks better, but doesn't have a built-in battery. So it's going to have to be plugged in with a cord and a power bank. All of these, most of them run on a power bank of 5.4 volts, which power banks are cheap, and USB cables or USB-C or whatever, but they're cheap. But I really want people to start thinking about going this route versus a big camera trap strapped on a tree. Did I say T? Strapped on a T. Because if you want to keep doing that, do it. But you should really start putting out some small cameras, low, high, and hiding them in decoys of some sort, food pile. I mean, you can do anything.
Yeah, something that small is going to be a lot easier to hide. That's for sure.
And it's really hard to get people to kind of switch over to these smaller surveillance cameras versus these bigger, trail cams. Yeah, they're convenient. They're waterproof. And a lot of times this particular one is not. It is, but it's not. You're going to want to put a piece of electrical tape over where the USB-C cable goes in it. It's open.
Sure.
But all of them are pretty water resistant. But this would be great if you're camping, you're doing all sorts of things. So there's an example of another type. Put up photo 11. There's a lot of these kind that are coming out too, and they're really cool.
Yeah. But
a lot of these don't have batteries built in. So you're going to have to power them with a cord of a power bank, which is no big deal, really.
Yeah.
You can hide those too, but they're all getting as small as they can be with their current chip technology, lens technology, and micro card technology. They're only going to get so small unless you have a separate record unit. Like you can get a buttonhole camera and it's got a cord that runs to a record unit.
Yeah.
So the camera is small. They have things like that too. So that's something you might want to explore. But be aware, all of these are going to give you fits hooking them up to your phone. Right, Jeff?
Oh, I mess with that. Yeah.
You've been there,
Been there. Yep.
You got to mess with it. And then all of a sudden you'll get it, right? You just got to be patient.
Yeah, it's never just plug it in and turn it on. It's never that simple.
Well, a
There's
lot of
always-
it's written by the Chinese, and they just will not hire American interpreters to, work on these instruction sheets.
Yeah.
And it's like, really, you can't do that because it's just broken English.
Yeah.
And they're can be hard to interpret. But
I've had gadgets where the instructions were completely useless.
Useless.
Just gibberish.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
useless.
And go ahead and show photo 10. That'll give people an idea of the kind of instructions you're going to get with all these cameras, step 1, step 2, step 3, depending on how you want to hook it up with Bluetooth or whatever.
Yeah.
So anyhow, enough of that. But I really encourage people, this should be your summer. You step out on a limb and get something smaller. Any brand, don't worry about it. Just read it really carefully that it doesn't let you down. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. That's all I've got for tech breakdown today. Let's go ahead and do our clips and let's bring Preston Dennett on.
Want to do some clips first? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, they're all really quick.
Okay. Here we go.
Clip 1, sound is good. This is not AI. Everybody thinks this is AI. This is a African hammerhead bat. It's the male.
Wow.
And they're
That's
weird.
huge.
Yeah, they're huge. It's Africa's largest bat. People are like, it's AI. No, it's not.
That's a big critter.
It's a real creature. We have a lot of great creatures on Earth. Clip
Yeah,
2.
please.
No sound. This is the most devoted balloon salesman ever. You got to watch this. He's very devoted. He'll definitely have the balloon that you want. Look at this.
Jeez. Holy smokes. Yeah.
If you can't find the balloon you want, you don't
Yeah.
want a balloon. Clip 3, Nat sound is fine. Preston would be interested in this. Maybe he's seen it. We can talk about it when we get him on. But this is one of these so-called, now they're nicknamed bugospheres. These orbs that are kind of metallic. And about that size. Which is what, like a foot diameter.
Yeah.
And
It's
the
getting
sound's
so-
good. I mean, this guy's just running his car. I didn't detect anything that was off with this. So your biggest thing is going to be, is it a balloon? Well, it changes directions pretty quick. And the nice thing is, I have watched these particular exact kind of spheres with my neighbors. We've gotten lawn chairs out and watched them.
Yeah.
Broad daylight, going in and out of the clouds and stuff, and just doing this. Like, where are you going? What are you doing? Because you don't seem like you really are on any kind of mission. They'll just stick around. It's really weird. Yeah, we've actually pulled lawn chairs out and just watched.
Yeah.
So I know they are real. I just don't know what they are.
Mhm.
All right, clip 4. Sound is good. This is definitely AI gone wrong or going wrong.
And here's the part that's going to keep you up tonight. OpenAI's new system O3 was given a simple shutdown command, but it didn't just refuse. It rewrote its own code to override the shutdown, literally inserting shutdown skipped. Let me make this clear. This isn't just an error or a glitch. This is an AI actively bypassing human control for the very first time. Other top AIs like Claude and Gemini, they followed the shutdown command without hesitation. But O3, it hacked the rules. It chose autonomy. Now imagine this code merged with robotics. Not just lines of code anymore, but machines capable of moving, learning, and resisting. We are no longer talking about science fiction. We're talking about real systems in real time, building the backbone of something
All right, that's
we
enough.
may not be able to stop. If someone tells
Sarah Connor, come
Yeah,
to
that's-
life.
That's
Terminator.
pretty terrifying, to be honest. That's like you
It
said.
is.
I mean, if something that's robotic that can do that, that's terrifying.
We were
It's
warned.
gonna happen.
We've been warned.
Some idiot's gonna do it. It's gonna happen. You're going to have a rogue robotic something.
I know. Oh my God, what it could do. All right,
Yeah.
clip 5. Let's not think about it. Sound is good. This is Neil the seal. I think he's an elephant seal or she.
That's amazing.
I think it's 5 tons of fun.
Jeez.
I think you have a problem when we have a loose boa constrictor. How'd you have this? It's bigger than the car. Heavier than the car.
That thing's
This
huge.
is This is South Africa, and he's been making the news. He visits all sorts of people. All right.
It's crazy.
Yeah, that's Neil the seal.
Neil the seal.
Neil the seal, yeah. We have clip 6. Sound is good. This is basically a warning right now. Don't play it. It could be a little disturbing to some people who love dogs. This is why you do not want your dog running loose or your cat, right? And this is in Southern California where they have quite a big coyote problem there, but we're getting one here in Minnesota, all over the country. They're getting coyote problems because the more you try to get rid of them, the more they breed and the more pups they make. So it's a real issue, and they haven't figured out how to control populations very well. But anyhow, so this dog is being surrounded by many coyotes. Go ahead and play it just for a little while. See if we get the idea. It's fine fending off one, but when you've got to fend off, what is that? What is there? 5 there?
5 or 6. 5.
Look at this. And they're fast. All right, that's enough. We got the idea. But don't let your cats run around. Don't let your dogs run free. By the way, that dog is okay. He's in a shelter waiting adoption. So it's a happy ending.
Nice.
All right. We have got, let's see, clip 7. Sound is good. This is basically a 1 in a trillion chance, a coincidence. It's kind of a nice feel-good story, though. Go ahead and play it.
On Lake of the Woods, a huge lake, when suddenly
I thought I had a big fish and I set the hook really hard.
it was no walleye.
Cousin Brandon clipping, he netted it.
It was a billfold full of money.
My cousin Brandon, he opened the wallet up and he was like, he said some words that you probably shouldn't say. And then he said that there's some money in it. And he like showed everyone, and then we like took the money out and placed it all on the dashboard to like let it dry off.
$2,000 inside the billfold.
My dad said we should give it to the person, so I told him we should too.
The money and other items inside the billfold full of moss and water. But they found a business card inside, and so the family called the number and tracked down the owner of the billfold.
I'll tell you what, Kevin, if I didn't, I've got the billfold and in my hands. It's still for me hard to believe.
That's Iowa farmer Jim Denny. He was at Lake of the Woods fishing 1 year ago.
The water was awful rough. I was sitting on that back of the boat there, and the boat was rocking back and forth pretty good.
All right, that's
and
all we need.
must have just worked it up out of there.
He got his wallet back,
and,
all of the
slipped
money.
off in the-
He offered them a reward. They refused, but what a great story.
Yeah, that's crazy.
What are the chance? You know, that's like there's like 13,000 acre lake. And then, of course, you have the depth. So the chances are almost probably.
Well, you bet on that lake. That lake is massive. Man.
Oh,
That is
God,
a big, big, big lake.
And to hook the wallet and have it come up with the money intact and get it back to the guy and just on and on and on. What a great story.
That kid's got a very strong moral compass. That's good to see.
Yes. And his compass is now stronger. By the way, that dog's name is Duke. Somebody thanked me. I think it was Kim Kincaid. So thanks for the update. His name is Duke. He's in OC in the animal shelter waiting adoption. I'll bet he's already adopted is my guess.
Yeah.
He was a stray dog. All right. Then we've got kind of a funny clip, but I've had experience with squid. Go ahead and play clip 8. The sound is fine. I just call this one Don't Get Inked. Go ahead.
Oh, that's you.
So they're trying to release this thing.
Holy shit else.
Wow, what a
Look
mess.
at my board. See?
There you go.
Oh, no. Oh.
Oh, what a mess.
It washes off. But that is a mess. Clip 9.
All right.
Sound is good. This is a clip called My Pool, Not My Horse. Go ahead and play it. Sound is good. Somehow this horse walked on the cover, fell through. Could you imagine?
How the heck did you get it out of there?
I don't know. I would imagine I'll have to put some kind of stairway to get him out. Okay, but he's fine. He seemed he was having a good time. Clip 10. The sound is good. Last clip. This is kind of interesting, and I hope Preston pays attention to this because I don't know what it is. It could be AI, but I don't think it is. I think it's lightning. That's just lighting and lighting up the moisture, so it looks like flames. It's pretty wild, right? Lightning does a lot of weird things.
It's so hard to trust video anymore. I mean, in the last couple of weeks, they've been showing new videos, AI videos.
Well, I check them out.
Oh,
I not only check them out, I do other things to make sure I'm not just playing AI. It doesn't mean I'm infallible,
right?
But I do my homework and I make sure I'm just not showing you a bunch of clips. AI clips can be really fun, so we just got to know they're AI, right? And just enjoy them for what they are. I can't even comprehend the stuff that I'm seeing, the creepy. A lot of AI loves to do creepy stuff.
Yeah.
Which scares me.
Yeah.
Like it can make creepy creatures.
Uncanny Valley. Yeah, that's unsettling.
Yeah, yeah. Anyhow, then we got word of the week. I'll take 10 seconds. Then I'm going to read Preston's.
Okay. Word of the week. Here we go. Yeah.
New Untold word of the week is scaffon. Scaffon is when something is scary and fun at the same time, like skydiving or even Bigfooting.
No! Yahoo!
And the only fun thing I do is go to Snowgrove. That's it.
Yeah.
I won't skydive. My son just did that. I'm like, God, why would you do that?
My sister did that. I don't know.
Whatever.
I'm 50-50 on that. I don't know.
Yeah, it's great fun till you hit the ground without a chute.
Yeah.
Great fun. All right. Preston Dennett. Preston Dennett began investigating UFOs and the paranormal in 1986, so he's been at it a while, when he discovered that his family and friends and coworkers were having dramatic, unexplained encounters. Obviously, it got personal for him and motivated him. Since then, he has interviewed hundreds of witnesses. I'll bet you it's got to be, after all these years, you lose track. And he's investigated a wide variety of paranormal phenomena. He is a field investigator for MUFON, for the Mutual UFO Network, MUFON. Preston is also an author of more than 30 books. He's written more than 100 articles about UFOs and the paranormal, and several of his books are on Amazon's UFO bestsellers list.
Awesome.
So a lot of accomplishments. He's done a lot more. He's been on Coast to Coast, I'm sure, several times. Mm-hmm. I know that he's been on many, many television shows and on Untold Radio. So welcome, Preston.
All right, play my disclaimer right. Welcome to the show, Preston. Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Oh, not bad. Doing pretty good. Hope you guys are too.
Yeah. We're doing. How long has it been since we've had you on? It's been probably
a couple
2
of
years.
years.
Yeah, 2 years. And it's scary. 2 years goes by like that.
Yeah. The older I get, the quicker it goes.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It's flying by these days.
It's
ridiculous.
less of a percentage of our life. So, okay, there's been so much since we've had you on. I mean, literally the last time we had you on, there hadn't been really hardly any disclosure. And there's more and more. And I've got a million questions, new questions for you. And hopefully there's the ones you've been asked. But what are your thoughts? Let's just talk about David Grush. And then we've got this new gentleman that came out that's claiming he's been picking up recovering UFOs with a helicopter, the egg, and so on. What are your thoughts on all this? I mean, what's going through your head?
Ooh, I'm hesitant to, discuss people in particular. David Grush, I have to give kudos to all whistleblowers.
Yeah.
But I feel like some of them are sanctioned, basically being controlled and told this is what you can talk about, this is what you can't.
Okay.
And I think some are just plain old bad actors, not having genuine experiences and are disseminating false information. I honestly think the true whistleblowers we haven't heard from, we're not allowed to hear from them. They are basically censored. I think
are you open to being wrong though about some of these whistleblowers, that maybe they are genuine?
Oh, certainly some are genuine. Absolutely. I think some are absolutely just trying to get the word out and doing the best they can. But I think we've got a lot of different things going on here. You can't be too careful. I'm very wary, honestly, from people from the intelligence community, simply because their history on this subject is heinous.
Yeah.
They've never told the truth on it.
No.
It's been 80 some years and we have yet to hear full disclosure. So I am David Grush. I liked what he had to say. I think he's got a sterling resume. I think he had an interesting story to tell. So yeah, I was impressed by what he had to say.
What about this? I can't remember. Why can't it? Jake Barber. His story, of course, is as amazing as it gets. I watched the Ross Colehart interview with him, and I'm like, just what? When they're talking about, recovering these things. But then I'm thinking, wow, it's almost hard to believe.
Yeah. I'm coming from basically the same position as everyone out there. I don't have the inside scoop on a lot of these guys.
Right.
So what I do have is perspective from knowing what it's like to have ET contact, associating with a lot of contactees who've gotten firsthand direct information about what's going on. I'm skeptical of some of the things some of these guys are saying. In particular, there was that word psionics. That kind of rubbed me the wrong way, to be honest, saying that we could fool ETs essentially into thinking that another ET is calling them and then shoot them down. Knowing a lot of contactees, truly how advanced ETs are, I don't think there's any possible way you could trick, quote, an ET into thinking, oh, we're also ET, because they're profoundly telepathic, psychic, really advanced. So that aspect of the story I question. But again, I haven't talked to these people. I would love to sit down and
what would be a question you would ask Jake Barber? What would be if you could ask him one question and one question only, Preston, what would you ask Jake?
Would you submit to a lie detector test?
Okay.
That would be something I'd like to hear. I'd like to hear. You couldn't possibly discern the truth with one question. You know what I mean? This is one of the problems I have with a lot of the videos that are being put out there, which are really interesting, but a video these days is not that how would I put it, worth much without a testimony firsthand to back it up. The eyewitness testimony is more valuable, I think, than some of this footage out there. So yeah, I am sort of on the fence about all of this. On one hand, I'm delighted to have movement. You know, people are talking about this subject in official.
Right. Well, let's stop you there. Okay, we talk about the movement. It's still got to be, even you would think any kind of movement's good. At least we're talking about it. It's in our vernacular every day. You know, we're having coffee, and I don't think a day goes by where like me and Yvette don't talk about UFOs for we'll show each other the latest. So it's kind of in our daily conversations now, and I know that's good.
Yeah, and a lot of people.
but do you think it's doing more harm than good at some levels?
In some levels, yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely, because I think there's quite a bit of disinformation and foot dragging and conflicting statements and, flat out lies and disinformation and fear mongering. So that's not doing this field any good.
Do you think the
real good thing about it, if I may, is that this is bringing in more people to this subject. It's bringing a lot of attention to this subject, which it desperately needs.
Do you think that, like the Jake Barber story is so wild that kind of is what, if it's disinformation, that it's put out there to just make people shake their head and go, oh, this is ridiculous. This guy's ridiculous, or this program's ridiculous. Or is it meant to do to steer us off some other way for another, even more sinister reason?
Could be both, or, could be legit. It's hard to say.
Yeah.
I honestly, like I said, have some serious questions about elements of what he's saying.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think that disclosure is very tightly controlled. Honestly, if the intelligence agencies, and I think that's who's really the driving force behind the disclosure, or the cover-up rather, unless and until they're willing to admit to events like Roswell, which I think we know happened. We've got enough testimony. Or the Malmstrom incident in Montana.
Right.
You may have heard of this, 1967 March, where they shut down the intercontinental ballistic missiles. Or the Capitol flyover, 1952. 3 major incidents. And they were asked about these, in the first initial congressional hearing. And, we have no reporting on the Malmstrom incident. Remember Moultrie and Daley, the heads of defense? Oh, no, we've never shot at a UFO. That's demonstrably untrue.
Yeah.
Until and unless they're willing to admit to at least those 3 incidents, and honestly, a dozen more, I don't see why we should believe them or listen to them. We don't need lying liars to tell us what's true.
So, what do you put it this way? Has any of this disclosure steered your thoughts on anything? It has for me a bit. When I hear a number of people say this whole mystery is darker than what we had, what we thought because of some of the spiritual aspects. I guess I'd never really thought about some of those things. Do you think that's all BS? Or do you think there's more truth to that end of it than there is some of these other things?
All BS, 100% fear mongering.
Okay.
Trying to paint this ETs as a threat, which they're not. They've been around as long as we know, since recorded history. Yes, there's a paranormal aspect to it. And what we see is, I would go to the contactees if you want the truth about the subject.
But you don't think there's like soul harvesting in that kind of...
No.
Okay.
No, I have zero evidence of that. They're not here to hurt people, harm people. If you take a good objective, and I'll underline that, an objective look at what happens when people have contact, the pattern is very clear. It's very prominent. It's one of healing, guiding, teaching, warning, informing. They tell people over and over again about the dangers of nuclear proliferation, war and aggression, greed and corruption, pollution. I don't care what ETs you're talking about, grays, human-looking, mantids, short beings, tall whites. The message is always the same. So no, I don't believe for 1 second they're harvesting people or souls or adrenochrome or all this.
Well, it was like that
ridiculous fear-mongering.
Yeah, well, there seemed to be kind of a mixing of religion in with the ET phenomena. And I thought, oh boy, I'm not sure where this is going. It didn't go anywhere, but it definitely made me think, what if it's true? Because, once again, you can never rule out anything 100%, right? Never.
Well, I think that we absolutely need to come to a consensus about what's going on here.
Yeah.
And I don't think for 1 second that there's remotely any evidence for what they're saying there. No, I don't think the ETs are demonic. If you see the bookcase behind me, I've got books on demonology, on angels, on ghosts, and all these subjects, because there is a connection to a lot of these subjects. But the demon theory, which is fairly prominent among people who are quite religious, does not hold up under scrutiny. It's a completely different phenomena. It has absolutely nothing to do with extraterrestrial contact. And those who are saying, oh, they're demonic, it's pure faith-based.
But what if, my only devil's advocate, no pun, would be, aren't we being visited by a lot of different species? And couldn't one be meaner than another one?
Well, it's a trick question, It appears that there are different species, but again, I'm going to the contactees. I am not in the business of speculating here.
Okay.
What I like to do is do facts-only reporting. And what I can tell you is what the contactees are being told and what they've experienced. And the ETs have told them flat out that that we all share genetics. We all have a common heritage. The message most contactees get who have any communication at all is, we are you, you are us, we are one. We have a common ancestry. They're all humanoid. Essentially, we are all humanoid. So when we separate grays from, all the other human-looking ones and so forth, that's a little bit of a misinterpretation, I think, of what's going on here. Yes, there's many different people out there with different cultures and different ethnicities, I think would be the way to put it.
Okay.
But here's the thing, and any contactee will tell you this, they are so profoundly telepathic that they all cooperate with each other. They know what each other is doing. There's no Galactic Federation. There's no Gray Queen or King or President. They have no government like that, no federalized system, no money. These are beings who are not only technologically very, very advanced, they're very spiritually advanced, psychically advanced, morally and ethically advanced. Again, there's an enormous amount of disinformation on this subject. And I can't underline that enough, because there are people who are having negative encounters. But what happens is contactees are often targeted for what we call MILABs, military abductions. And I think this is where things start to go wrong. This is what really muddies the waters. And people start to get a negative interpretation of their experiences, when really it's not ET doing it. It's government folks, or what we would call government folks.
Gotcha. We're getting just tons of really good questions. There was one on Phil Schneider, which is a great case, where he claimed his fingers were shot off by some kind of weapon and blah, blah, blah. But he didn't die a very weird death, didn't he, after he came forward?
Yeah, the Phil Schneider case is one I like to put on the back burner because it really isn't supported by the vast majority of evidence out there.
Okay.
It's a unique case. I definitely have questions about it. It does seem like he did die a suspicious death. Some of the information he's putting out, I simply cannot swallow. This is me personally, my assessment, because no one else out there is saying anything remotely like this. And whenever I have someone who has a completely unique story, I'm not saying it's not true, but I cannot, if I can't vet it, if I can't confirm it, if I can't get corroboration, I have to put it on the back burner, as I said, and wait until I can get some sort of evidence to prove or disprove that story.
Yeah. So here's a question from Squatch Mama. Mr. Dennett, how do you approach skepticism when analyzing UFO cases? And what methods do you use to separate credible evidence from misinformation? Which is kind of our theme right now, is misinformation.
Yeah, it's a great question, because I came into this field as a complete skeptic. I did not believe it was real. I bought into the Air Force, the intelligence agency's lies that all of these cases can be explained as hoaxes, hallucinations, misperceptions, or mental illness.
Mm-hmm.
I believed that. And like most skeptics, I didn't do any research. I just assumed that I knew that they were telling me the truth. So finding out it was real, because people within my family had encounters. These are people I knew and trusted, right? I know them well enough to know they're not going to lie to me. So I was able to get a baseline of what is going on here that is not polluted by a fear-based media or misinformation agents and disinformation agents. And of course, my network grew quickly to friends of friends and so on. And as I started publishing books and doing radio and podcasts and TV and stuff, I started getting a lot of stuff coming at me. And I learned investigative techniques by becoming a MUFON field investigator and doing the legwork. And there's a whole process you go through.
Yeah, it's not easy to become a MUFON investigator.
No, it's not as easy as you might think.
No, I know.
But yeah, there's a whole process, and it's hard to answer in just one quick soundbite. But ultimately, it comes down to interviewing a witness over and over, seeing if their story changes. There's all kinds of little, what I would call, red flags or markers that are perhaps not super well known, especially back in the day when there was no internet. Because I was doing this long before computers became such a big part of all of this. And this subject, there were books on the subject, but not like today. Now you can look up online and see what happens when someone's taken on board.
Yeah.
But when I started, you couldn't, not very easily, at least. So
well, has the whole abduction thing been swept under the rug far more than just the basic topic of UFOs? I mean, obviously there was, Bud Hopkins and God, I can't think of his name.
John Mack, David
John
Jacobs.
Mack. Then the other guy, the professor with the white hair, Jacobs, Dr. Jacobs. And those were really the only guys. Are there new people that are kind of taking their place? Because 100%. You don't hear as much about abduction now as you did years ago, which is amazing to me.
Yeah, I stopped using that word because it was offending a lot of the people I work with.
Well, what's the word we should use?
Contactee.
Contactee,
yeah,
okay.
And I call it the onboard UFO encounter.
Okay.
Because some people feel it's negative. It's much
so
more
encounter, onboard encounter, okay.
That's the term I use because it's very neutral and very descriptive and accurate. But yeah, those were the big three. But certainly people were investigating this stuff long before they came around too. Jim and Coral Lorenzen were talking about this at the same time Bud Hopkins was. Let's see, Walter Webb. Now we've got a lot of people doing it. Kathleen Martin, she's a researcher I really like.
Right.
Denise Stoner, Barbara Lamb.
Yeah, but are they doing, nobody's doing hypnosis, or are they? Is that still an ongoing thing?
100%. I've shied away from hypnosis because I wanted to be able to say, counter the arguments. Oh, you're using hypnosis. This is false memory syndrome. People are recalling this. It's imaginative. 100% not true. I've interviewed a lot of people who had fully conscious encounters. I think hypnosis works. Don't get me wrong. Done correctly, it's very effective. Done incorrectly, it's been proven to bring out false memories. So there's a bit of controversy there, but yeah, people are absolutely still doing it. 100%. I know there's Martin Rivera. I refer people to her. Debs Shakti. She's doing it. Quite a few people are still doing this. You can actually find people in pretty much every location because I'll refer people, like if you're in this area or that area, I can find someone for you. But MUFON right now is probably the best place to go for people who are seeking hypnosis, to find someone who can do it for them.
Well, don't you agree, though, there hasn't been as much primetime TV coverage of these things?
Congress has yet to even talk about it. They'll talk about sightings. They'll talk about crashed UFOs and even bodies, but they have yet to bring up one contactee, which is interesting to me because I consider this the cutting edge.
Well, okay. Well, let's just relate it to animal research. When they're studying black bears, especially years ago, they tranquilized them, to put a radio collar on them. There's not much difference between that and apparently with, implants and things. It just seems like it makes sense. If another race is coming here, they're going to want to study our physiology.
I would like it more to Jane Goodall, who does it in a very sort of interactive, friendly way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So are you a believer that there's been people with, implants and, those kinds of things?
Oh, yeah. I'd say I've moved beyond belief to firsthand evidential knowledge because I can tell you this comes up quite a bit with contactees. They'll go to the dentist or the doctor, or perhaps they'll break a bone or something, and the doctor will say, well, this is odd. You have something here in your foot. That happened with someone I was working with. Someone went to the dentist and they had a large kind of marble-sized object under a molar, which was asymptomatic. No entry wound. Freaked the dentists out. And the lady sent me the x-rays and I took them to doctors. All of them said it was a foreign body. This is really good. I have the x-rays. They're very good, solid evidence of ET intervention because they were having direct experiences at this time. There's lots of cases like this.
Well, there was
very common, actually.
I had an experience like that with my ear, nose, and throat guy. I went in I was going to get sinus surgery, and they scope you or whatever, and he goes, "Oh, I see you've already had sinus surgery." I said, "I've never had surgery in my life." He goes, "Oh yeah, you have," and I'm like, "No, I haven't." So I'm arguing with this guy. He's not believing me. And then he shows me, he goes, "You have a perfect hole drilled through your bone." He said, "You definitely had surgery because that's exactly what I do." And I'm like, "No, I haven't." It's just weird. And I'm not saying that's ET related, but I know what that's like to have a doctor go, "Something's wrong here." He never did believe me. He swore I'm like, "No, I've never had surgery."
Medical evidence is a very good, aspect of the mountains of evidence in support of this subject.
And you would think it just seems like we're working backwards the wrong way. You think you would start, and I know we're going to bring on a guest. Oh, she's in the green room. Hi, Dolly. Somebody who you feel have obviously really vetted, like immensely, from what I understand, correct?
Oh, Dolly? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Dolly. Yeah.
For years.
Years you vetted her.
She's my favorite case by far.
But you just wonder why there's been, because you would think you would just start there, because if they're having contact, They know what's going on. They've been in the ships, right? They know these things, but yet we're still looking at fuzzy, blurry videos.
My point exactly. And this is why I think disclosure is basically a charade. I think that's the best word for it.
Okay.
It's
Is
a
that
show.
what, did I just nail why you're kind of got a little chip against disclosure because of what
Yes.
I hit it on the head, right?
Yeah, because they're not telling the truth. And why I'm at the point now where I don't want to hear what they have to say. I saw a question back there a little bit ago. What can we do to try and get truth and transparency? Knowledge is, I think, our best tool at this point. Educating ourselves on what's going on here, but pushing our own congressional leaders to track the money, because they have congressional oversight of the budget. And that is, I think, one tool we can try to worm our way into this. But I don't think it's ever going to be successful, because this is not purely military or intelligence agencies. This is the military industrial complex. The FOIA, Freedom of Information Act, doesn't work on private companies. So this is a mess that we're in. I don't know how we're going to get out of it. Ultimately, I think the cover-up is going to collapse under the weight of its own lies. Governments don't last forever. You know, we're one of the longest lived democratic republics in the history of this planet. And we're already starting to break the seams a little bit.
Yeah.
Because corruption is one of the biggest dangers of any country. And it can only go on for so long before people have had enough.
Yeah.
And I think we're getting closer and closer to that.
Well, we know we got a lot of money missing.
Right?
I know the military's got it's like in the trillions just missing. How do you lose trillions of dollars? You can't.
I have a question, Preston. Excuse me. Out of all the people that have been contacted directly, is there any consistent explanation as to why these aliens, ETs, don't reveal themselves? What you know what I mean? I mean, that would what's the explanation?
Sure. Well, it's kind of a trick question, because people have asked that directly, and one answer people will get is we absolutely have. And I agree with that, because if you look, we have a worldwide database of over several million documented encounters. If you go to NUFORC, National UFO Reporting Center, and MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network, they alone have 200,000-300,000 cases. I would point to the schoolyard UFO encounters, like Rua, Zimbabwe Aerial Elementary School, Westall High School, Hillsdale College. They're showing themselves to fairly large groups of people. There's waves of sightings constantly all over this planet. So they have done disclosure in a very clever way. But I think people have asked, well, why don't you just land on the White House lawn? Notwithstanding that they practically did, and we shot at them. And that is the answer. Our response has been incredibly hostile. The answer has been that we are not ready. We have to have peace on earth. We have to start electing leaders who will be more truthful and transparent. And they know better than to just hover over New York City, say, for 3 days in a row and cause absolute disruption and panic and upheavals in probably every faction of society, particularly religion, business, politics, all of this. That is not their goal, to cause instability. Quite the opposite.
Well, don't you think that it's just basically the kind thing to do, to not disrupt everything? Correct?
Yeah, exactly.
It's just simple. I mean, this is not rocket science.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm just wondering if there was a consistent.
It's very consistent. That is the answer people get. We're not going to stop, our wars, because that's up to us. We have to solve our own problems. People have asked that over and over again. Why don't you just come down and fix things?
Yeah.
Like, we cannot do that.
Yeah.
But boy,
well, there's so many examples of us trying to help less advanced societies, and it's never work. You can't just give technology to less developed societies. It doesn't work.
No, all you can do is
a
provide
disaster every time we've done it.
Yeah,
that makes a ton of sense.
All right, let's take this moment just to have Dolly get introduced. So backstage we have Dolly. I'm not sure how to pronounce her name. Saffron.
That's great. Saffron. Yep.
Oh, good. So and it says here what I have is one evening in January 1973, 14-year-old Dolly Saffron gazed out a window of her home near the Florida Everglades. Without warning, a UFO dropped from the sky and hovered in her backyard. To her shock, Dolly could see thin gray skinned figures with large dark eyes staring back at her. Frightened, she dived under her bed to hide. At that moment, her bedroom filled with a blazing blue light. The next thing she knew, morning had arrived. She was lying on the floor wearing somebody else's pajamas. I've heard that story before. She had been taken again. This was not her first episode of missing time. It had happened many times before, only this time something different happened. Dolly remembered. In fact, she remembered everything. And with that, if you want to say a few words before we bring her on, we're ready just to snap her up here. So just something you want to say before she gets on, Preston?
Yeah, I would just say she has a sterling resume.
Okay.
She has worked as a nurse, a zookeeper in the Department of Defense. She's absolutely, I vetted her testimony with corroborating witnesses. She's opened up her files to me completely, her medical evidence, implant evidence. She's got photographic evidence, far, far more than the vast majority of contactees. I myself have become a witness and a participant to her encounters.
Wow.
So that is what I would start with.
Okay. Well, let's welcome Dolly to the show.
Here she comes. Hello, Dolly.
Hi, how are you? Thank
Good.
you for having us on.
Yeah, no, it's definitely our pleasure.
Great to have
Hey,
you here. Yes.
I've never met you, have I, Dolly, or have I?
I've been on your show.
Oh, it's right. That was that 2 years ago?
Long time ago, yeah.
Oh gosh, I'm getting old.
It's okay, we all are.
Anyhow, well, I want to cover new ground, but yeah, I'm sure you heard me say, to me, it should be the investigation should start with people like yourself.
Well, I agree. One of the reasons that I came out was to head straight for that. What I ran into was a giant brick wall. My ET contacts basically warned me that this was going to be an issue and to tread lightly. I am a military brat. I worked for the military as well in the DoD. And I have a long history of what it means to be inside the insanity of the military industrial complex. My father was a Lieutenant Colonel Airborne Ranger. He was a gifted genius who taught himself architecture and aeronautical engineering. He worked for NASA. He worked for the government particularly. And I have NDAs just because of my father. Okay. I know a lot about what's going on. And that puts me at a huge disadvantage. I'm not the only contactee out there, I hope, with the kind of information that I'm walking around with, but most of them are dead silent. I'm the only one who's had, I'm not sure what it is, honestly. I berate myself every now and then. What was I thinking? But yeah, I came out, and it's a long, hard hill to climb with this subject. I want to read something to you. This is directly from ET. This is from an ET who is, in the know. He says, disclosure from those in authority over humanity will always tactically use plausible deniability. Their agenda supersedes all humanity. Our reality is their construct. It is their power and its weaponization which impugns all explanation to humanity. Therefore, learn all that is learnable. Understand each of us must use our abilities to discern our position in their paradigm. Wisdom is your freedom from their tyranny. I want to also bring up to you that President Eisenhower warned everybody When he left his presidency, the last things he talked about literally were the military-industrial complex, and he was worried that they had pretty much started taking over then, and he wasn't wrong. They have, and that's where you want to know where all that money went, through them.
Yeah.
It is now a worldwide complex. It's just not here; it's everywhere. And any disclosure you get is not going to come from them. It is going to come from boots on the ground, people who have had contact, and there's plenty of them. It's not just schools, it's movie theaters, it's sports events, it's highways, it's byways, it's everywhere on the planet. People see them over their houses. They've done a lot of work to bring their presence to be known to humanity. And if you asked humanity as a whole, they would all raise their hand and say, yep, they're here. We don't need a government to tell us that. We already know.
Well, yeah, that's what's so weird about this whole mystery.
That's right.
Most of the population believes there's life out there.
Right. We don't need
most of the population believes
what to think. That's what autonomy is. We're being told what to think, and they've taken over a lot of what humanity believes by managing the media, by managing religions, by managing people, by managing governments. They have absolutely put a stopgate up and feel that they're in control of the narrative. And pretty much they are, because too many people are moaning and complaining. Why don't they tell us the truth? Quit worrying about it. That's my advice to everybody. You need to wake up, and you're going to have to do it on your own. You're going to have to seek out knowledge that teaches you the truth, not what they want you to believe, because belief doesn't know anything. Only you knowing the truth, you figuring it out for yourself, and then employing that knowledge. That's the only way we're going to survive here with this.
Yep. And that's the ET threat right there. It's not to humanity. It's to the control and the lies of the, quote, power elite, the cabal. They're terrified that people are going to learn the truth. That's why, that's why the cover up.
Yeah. That makes total sense.
Yeah.
They obviously want control over us.
Employed here by them. You realize that, right? They've known since the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s on up.
Yeah.
They have all the evidence they need. They know more than you think they do. They've back engineered all kinds of stuff. There's plenty of evidence for that. One of Preston's favorite things to say is, if you got something to say, I'm not going to listen to you until you deliver bodies and show us why Maelstrom and admit to it, because that really happened. There's plenty of other things that have happened that most people don't even know about.
Okay, well, I want to bring this conversation to a more personal level. To both you and Preston. So one question I have, I'm not sure if you even get asked this ever. How did you ever get over your fear of this? Yeah, these whatever you want to call them, encounters. Because I don't know if I could ever get over that. How did you? You have a lot of courage, Dolly.
I was born wide awake. I'm born wide open psychic. I really wasn't frightened that night when I was 14. I was shocked, okay? Because my intention that night was to know what the heck was going on with me. I had a mother who hated this subject and was trying to push me away from it. My dad was involved, and I didn't know that yet. And I made up my mind that night that I was going to know. The next contact I had, I was going to remember everything, and I knew I could. I have an eidetic memory. I managed to pull it off. I did it. I wasn't raised to be afraid. Listen, I had an airborne ranger for daddy. He taught me not to be afraid. He taught me that nothing can harm you unless I let it. Okay. Those are the kinds of things that I was taught. My psychic abilities were encouraged as a child growing up. It drove my mother crazy, but it was encouraged. My education was encouraged. Everything ET taught me as well. And I had the benefit of not being toxified by water and food and stuff like that. We were isolated, had our own food supply, that kind of thing. And it gave me a perspective or an understanding of what everybody else on this planet is having to deal with this. And it's basically, you have been managed for years and years and years and years. You don't even know it. Everybody has a pineal gland in their brain. It's an endocrine, part of your endocrine system. It sees light and dark, but it transmits and it receives signal. Brainwaves are transmissions. And you can be psychic through that. You can hear things, but having fluoride in your water has gummed it up. It calcifies your pineal gland. They planned that years and years and years ago to do to people because they knew they could.
It sounds like that may start removing it from our water finally.
Yeah, I know.
I hope
It's
so.
going to take 1,000 years for it to go away, though. Once it's in the water table, it's in the water table. You can't. It's going to be hard, unless they build huge reclaimers. Not just purifiers, but reclaimers of that element. It's going to be tough on our water for a while.
Well, okay, Dolly, I want to get you on track only because
Okay.
I mean we have plenty of time. We got lots of time.
Okay.
But I really am interested. Do you get excited about these encounters? Do you dread them? Why do you think other people dread them? Because I definitely have talked to people.
Everybody's raised to be in fear from the moment they're born. On this
Okay.
planet, years and years ago, people were told they were crazy if they talked about it. They were discouraged from it. You're nuts, Remember the aluminum hat people? They were put down and told terrible things. They don't want anybody to talk about it, know about it, and then they started teaching you fear. You watch horror movies. You see. You play games that install fear in you. You have horror movie fests. People hate each other. They have division on this planet in untold numbers, and everything is weaponized into fear. That's why people have fear. And
it's not just this subject; it's everything.
Right. When you're waking up, when you start using your abilities, you're able to walk away from that. Knowledge also cancels fear. Know all that is knowable. Once you start to see the truth about things and understand what it really is, fear just goes away because you know what it is, and you can employ that knowledge to walk forward.
I realize, Dolly, but you're not normal. I'm sorry, you're not normal.
I know. Well, I've been watching my family for centuries, and
this is supposed to be the normal, though.
Yeah.
And
No,
Dallas
I get it.
right.
It's good that you have the attitude that you have, but
we have so much fear. We need to recognize that we survive death. People
Right.
are afraid of dying. People are afraid of being ridiculed and disbelieved. We're basically victims of the UFO cover-up. This has been very carefully orchestrated on all humanity, this fear campaign. So our tool to fight that is exactly what Dolly said, knowledge. Because this is what we fear, the unknown.
Right.
And they've pushed this subject into the unknown to such a degree that people are terrified. And I've talked to so many contactees, and there's a lot of fear. The vast majority of them get over it at some point.
Really? Is that true? I didn't know that.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
So, and Preston, you're kind of in that same boat. You seem very courageous too about this whole topic. You're just,
I've never had any fear of it.
Oh,
I
okay.
did. When I first found out it was real, I was shocked at what I was reading and seeing on TV. And so I started interviewing people, and I'm like, well, this is weird. My brother had an encounter. He wasn't afraid. A family friend had an encounter. Another friend, people at work. So I was a bit puzzled as to why the media was portraying this in such a fear-based way. And I started seeing UFOs myself.
Well, I made the mistake of looking at Whitley Strieber's book and then finally reading it, and I'm like, okay, I didn't sleep for 6 months.
It was a really good book.
I had the same experience. I just think
Terrifying.
about encountering that one in your bedroom was.
Yeah, well, he's a master of horror fiction. Don't forget.
We had a chance to talk to Whitley. I got to meet Whitley and have a conversation with him, and
I have too.
he was historically a horror writer, okay?
Right?
And
He's good at it.
your perspective is your perspective, and if you're thinking that stuff all the time, when you come in contact with ET and you realize it's real, and this is your persona and how you perceive everything, what do you think you're going to think? This is what I'm trying to tell you. If you're programmed to be afraid, you will be afraid. But Whitley told me as the years went by, he realized that it's benign. They're not out to get us. They're not going to harm us. They're on our side.
Even Carla Turner said the same thing. They're not here to take over.
Right.
The ETs will say first time out over and over again, have no fear. Do not be afraid. You're fine. We won't hurt you. No harm will come to you.
Right.
They are out of their mind with trying to calm us down.
Right, exactly.
Okay. So we're talking about the fear. You don't have any, Dolly. You have zero, correct? Zero.
Zero, yeah.
Do you actually look forward to these encounters?
There's something about me you apparently haven't caught up with yet. I was taught solely by ET most of my life. I was cut off from humanity while I was with them. I was gone all the time. came back.
Wow.
I had two lives. I was living with them and here at the same time, almost.
Wow.
When I was 14, they taught me, I wanted to be a pilot. They asked me what I wanted to do with my life, and I said, I want to fly, and they knew exactly what I meant. They tested me for like 6 months before they decided I was even going to be a candidate, and then they started teaching me. It took 4 years. I can actually fly craft. I started flying craft when I was 19, and I've been flying ever since. I'm not flying right now. ET is not here, by the way. We have something going on in our solar system that's causing problems for them to fly here. It's too dangerous. They keep crashing, and they bugged out in like late May of 2022.
Really?
Anything you see in the sky now is not them. It's all back engineered stuff from our governments, which that's an agenda as well. But I digress. I want to go back to what I'm telling you.
Okay.
I have extensive day-to-day absolute contact with ETs, flown with them, eaten with them, slept beside them. I know them. What you consider,
but you understand, Dolly, that I'm listening to this totally with as open of a mind as a human can have.
I know.
And it's still just shocking to hear stuff like this.
Yeah, it took Preston a good year to climb on board with it, and I had to prove it to him.
Okay.
I had to show him as much information as I could, including the government dogging me my entire life. There's no time in my life where I don't have NSA, CIA, and FBI and the alternate government on my butt all the time, watching me. They've attacked me. They've tried to kill me. It is not funny anymore to me. Preston has been in the presence of this actually occurring. Okay, he's been on board my craft. He's flown.
Okay, all right. Now we have to switch to Preston.
Yeah.
Preston, please talk.
Yeah, I mean, Dolly reached out to me in 2016 and took me, right off the bat, I knew she was for real. There's a lot of markers that people have, as we were talking about earlier, that can point towards a genuine contactee. But it took me a year or two to realize just how extensive her story is. She's certainly not the only person I've talked to who's been taught how to fly these craft. But as often happens, when I associate closely with a contactee, I'll start having experiences. And this absolutely came true with Dolly. When I met her the first time at UFO MegaCon in, 2022, 2021?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw UFOs that night. Talata, her craft, well, I'm not sure if it was him or another one.
It was three of them. He was one of them. Yeah.
And it was essentially an anomalous light. And I'm still kind of skeptical of anomalous lights because, it could be anything.
Yeah.
So this one was...
He didn't meet us the first night we were there. The night before, my friend Yvonne Watson was
Yvonne, who I interviewed.
Yeah.
It got on the evening news.
Yeah.
I saw the news report.
We got him on film. Yeah.
So it started circling around me, and the day came where I was taken on board. This was 2022.
May.
My birthday, actually, May 6th. Best birthday present I ever had. It's not my first contact. I've had missing time. I've had some close encounters.
Okay, but so you've been taken on board, and you're just kind of skimming over this. I knew you before 2022.
Yeah.
And suddenly this happens. Okay, well, explain.
Yeah, well, I was sleeping in bed in my home in Reseda, Southern California, and next thing I know, I wasn't sleeping. I am being pulled up. Dolly calls it an energy ribbon, and that's absolutely what it feels like. I actually recognized this feeling because I remembered this happening to me prior. Now I did, that it was happening, and it's a very energetic feeling, kind of like a mild electric shock. I don't want to call it that because that sounds negative, but it was very electric, and this went on for 30 seconds, and I'm going through space. I knew exactly what was happening. I'm like, I'm being taken. I know this because I've felt this before. Next thing I knew, I'm lying on a table. I'm like, well, look at this. Because having talked to hundreds of people about this exact thing, now it's happening to me. I'm fully conscious. I'm awake. There's little guys around me who I'm not really looking at. I'm looking at this very tall, slender, what I would call a hybrid. Clearly not fully human, but mostly. She had very large wraparound eyes, which were blue, very tight, white, blonde, curled hair, very, very thin, a white, shiny jumpsuit. And she's looking at me with a tiny little nose and a tiny little smile, asking me telepathically, "Are you all right?" And I said, "Yes, I'm fine." I tried to get up. She's like, "No, no, no. We need you to just stay there a second. We need to make sure you're all right." I insisted several times I was all right, and they finally let me up. And I walked straight over to Dolly's main contact, who she basically calls Mama, who is a tall gray, some 7 feet tall. I have to tell you, I've never met anyone so wise, elegant, just the epitome of grace.
Wow.
She tossed her head, looked, at me, tiny little smile, said, "So, is this what you thought it would be?" And I said, "No, it's much better." Because it was. I was with people I could absolutely feel the trust and love and wisdom. It's so different from being, in LA, where you have to watch your back every second. This was amazing. It was a big 40-foot wide room, maybe 50 feet round, exactly like people describe it. There were other people there. There were little gray ETs. It was a 5-minute long experience. So it wasn't super long, but I got to look out the window, see the earth far below. We dropped down, came back up. It was wild.
Well, did this have something to do because you knew Dolly so well?
Absolutely. It was
this something, Dolly, that you
Yes.
asked them to do?
Yes.
Okay, good night, everybody.
It's time for him to go. Yeah. Well, I knew we were losing, and we were running out of time for him to have a ride, and it was just time, and so we took him up.
Yeah. To answer Lee's question, they aren't making us forget. This is a two-way street. What's happening here is some people have a straight-out panic, fear reaction, and this is the last thing they want. So they will sometimes facilitate people into kind of putting it into their subconscious mind or interpreting it as a dream or just flat out not remembering until they're ready to remember.
Yeah.
Sometimes they'll have a cue. They'll see Whitley Strieber's book and be like, "Oh my God, I recognize that."
Your hippocampus is a funny thing. It's your short-term memory. Everything you experience in real time is going into your hippocampus. Okay. And your hippocampus can be foibled by one thing, and that's absolute fear or hate. And if you're in either one of those modes, you're going to be living it as it's happening. But the minute it's over with, you're going to throw it into the dream state. Your brain will recatalog it, not into long-term memory, but it'll put it into, this is a dream. This is the only way you're going to remember this, because you were so overly emotional with it. It doesn't know how to categorize it for you.
Okay. All right. I've got to ask this. So for some people, they make them forget because they can't handle it?
No, they do not make you forget. They know you're going to by
They
your
facilitate
reaction.
your decision.
And and what they do is they give you a suggestion, a hypnotic suggestion. They'll say, "What do you want to do with this? Because you're so bloody in fear, what do you want to do?" And it's really up to you how you want to handle this. And if you say, "I can't remember it now," well, they just let you go into that because they know your hippocampus is going to do the right thing for you and put it into a dream state or totally make you forget. But they will give you a word to jerk you back to yourself. A self-hypnosis word that you recall yourself, that'll pop your memory and bring it out of the dream state into your long-term memory.
Okay, but surely that they have people who are more in the fight mode, they're going to fight back. They're going to be so scared. They're going to be... I remember when I woke up, the sinus surgery, remember that I said I got?
Mm-hmm.
I woke up swinging out of
a lot of people do. A lot of people do. As a nurse, I know this, and that's you fighting.
It's a good analogy.
It's a survival instinct that makes us do that.
But I wonder if some people, when they get
yes, they'll actually swing at them. It is when I'm on board and I'm flying, when I'm done flying, I get in, moments where I don't have to do that. And I'll go and be with the people who are being contacted on board. As a nurse, I'm able to calm people down, talk to you, show you things. I'll walk you around the craft. I'll even let you sit in my bloody seat. Okay. Trying to keep you stable. The more contact you have, the more you become used to it and the more you become accepting. And a lot of those people are the ones that are absolutely remembering things. And that's how that occurs. Okay. But the ones you first get, oh my God, I've been pinched. I've seen ETs been shoved across the room. I know that the little teeny grays, they're AI, they're biological intelligence that does the work for them. They've been destroyed by people just belting them one, because they don't fight back. Crazy. And yeah, humans are very violent. We're taught to be that too. I mean, you can't survive school age years unless you've had at least 1 or 2 fights or watched one occur. It does something to your brain. It makes you fight or flight. It's a conditioned response by us.
Well, sure, but isn't it the government that's making us
Yes.
afraid?
Yeah.
Because they haven't given us any information, and fear of the
No.
unknown is like the
No.
most powerful
I know.
force. The unknown, we don't know. I mean, if I found myself on a ship, instead of Preston going, oh, this is cool, I'd be like trying to get away, or whatever.
What would you do if you had all your answers before you and it was all explained so that you knew it was the truth? In other words, you were given time.
Well,
to
if they treated me that way, and were nice and actually talked to me and explained and blah, 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 and I could
when
ask
you're
them.
on board, ET does do that. But when you come here, oh, heck no. It's not going to happen. Nobody's going to talk to you about it. They're going to shun you. Or if seriously, your job will fire you. I mean, it's just now in the last 5 years or so where the paradigm of this is starting to change a little bit. But you have to worry about what the narrative is going on now. Something's going on, okay? You got to ask yourself, what are they planning? Because crazy things are happening right now. There's a reason.
Yeah, and if you're on board and you're in a straight out fear panic reaction, they are talking to you, but
yes,
it's very hard.
I know, but I was okay. So my son, I'm gonna just throw this out there. He said to me one day, we're out fishing, and my youngest son says, "Dad, do you think aliens are nice or mean or whatever? And do you think they, care about us?" Here's what I did. It might have been the wrong thing, and you might hate me for this, Dolly. I unhooked my fish and let him go.
Well,
I told my son, we're using barbless hooks today because I don't want to hurt fish. I want to be able to unhook them.
Let me give you an allegory that you might be able to use for your son or anybody else. That was
an analogy.
Or anybody else here. As a nurse, as an ER nurse, I would have people come in who did not know what's going to happen to them. They're in total blind fear of what's happening to them. I've been bitten, scratched, beaten, stomped. I'm not kidding you. I mean, Halidol is a good drug, okay? We pop them and calm them down right away. It is important for you to understand that your reaction is what's causing you to drive this fear. And we do it to each other on this planet. I want you to understand something. ET has not harmed anybody. You don't hear stories of ET eating you.
No, you're right.
Stories of ET chopping off your body. You don't hear stories of ET causing any horrible thing. Now, my labbers are a different story. They'll come back with all kinds of crazy stuff.
But what about, aren't there any mean ones?
No.
There's not?
Ask yourself a question. These people billions of years of evolution of us.
Yeah.
Look what they can do. They can come to you from clean across the galaxy. Okay. Why would they waste their time to harm you? What would that serve? The only people harming anybody are on this planet. We're on a planet where evil, bad, hate, all of that stuff, weaponization of life is here. It's concentrated here. They're watching us going, excuse me, you guys got to stop. And the only things that contactees are telling you is just exactly that. ET wants us to stop. They don't want us to do nuclear. They have reasons and they're good ones.
Yeah.
They don't want you to hate each other. They want you to understand that we're all one people. Your race is human. You're Homo sapiens sapien here. They are Homo sapien, a little bit of something else. But all DNA throughout the universe is the same thing. You carry all the DNA of all living beings throughout the entire universe in your body alone. You are their children. They are our progenitors. We're all one together. Those are the only messages you hear from them. You are us, we are you, we are all one.
But what if they're
they do come here?
What if they're lying?
They come here because they're hoping that we evolve and use our abilities so we can have a conversation with them. They want so much to be able to teach us, to take us from this point forward and move on. But until we're ready for that, they can't touch us with a 10-foot pole.
Well, honest answer from both of you. Have you ever suspected you have been lied to, or even a white lie? Even a white lie?
They're wide open
to
psychic.
protect you.
I am too. I hear everything they think, and they hear everything we all think. They can't lie. It's impossible. They only tell the truth. Ever tell the truth. They're incapable of it.
We lie to each other. We have a culture which commits genocide and thievery and assault, and we have a long, long, long history of it. Yeah. So I think what happens is when we meet someone who looks a little different, we automatically impose our own cultural values or lack of them on them and expect people to lie.
Yeah.
You understand that when you're compartmentalized, when you're not in touch with your higher self, your consciousness, you have a physical brain, your body's indwelled by consciousness from conception forward. And your consciousness is trying to talk to you all the time. But if this isn't working right, there's no connection. So you can't hear anything. You can't see anything except in your own little microcosm, in your own little paradigm. You're locked in here, okay? They aren't. They're all conscious, 100% through and through. Their consciousness is in full contact with their physical minds, and they are wide open psychic. So if they tried to tell a lie, you'd know it from the second it started. Okay. We would be able to do that with one another. If everybody suddenly woke up one day and we were all psychic, oh my God, the lying would stop. There would be no more lying because... Which
is one of the ET's main goals, is to wake us up to that ability.
Well, I'm almost sorry I asked that damn question. Okay, all right. Let's there's so many good questions coming in. Let's address a few of them. Dolly, based on your lifelong experiences, what do you believe is the most important message that ETs want humanity to understand right now? And how can we begin to align ourselves with that message? Okay. So what's the most important?
I have been dictated to for that, and I was given the message. And it's in the beginning of the book Symmetry that Preston wrote about my case. And I'm going to read it to you now. It's at the very beginning of the book for a reason. It's there so that that message is the first thing you see. Okay? And I have too many pictures. Oh my God. I'm trying to find it. Hold on.
No problem.
Yeah, it's very short. So it's just...
Yeah, it's not long.
A quote directly from the entity who embodies the craft. This is another thing that Dolly clarified for me, is that all these craft are actually what we would consider living beings, embodied. Right. I've had many contactees tell me this. I always wondered about it because so many people see this up through the lens of fear.
Right.
A lot of people have had to use hypnosis to recall their memories. Most have fragmentary memories. We look at it through our own belief system as well. But the message Dolly has given is really interesting to me, because I've had people tell me that the love they felt from ETs is, quote, a love like never before. I've heard that phrase at least.
I've heard it too.
Yeah.
I'm just, I'm a scaredy cat. I'm scared of my own shadow.
Well, all you have to do is start seeking knowledge and learn all that you can about this. And there's plenty of resources out there.
Well, I do, and I do read a lot, and it still scares me because, nobody wants to be at the counter, getting ready to go to bed, eating a bowl of cereal, and then turn around, there's some little gray dude looking at them.
All right. Well,
that scares the living tar out of me.
This is from EP, directly to y'all. He titled it, Be Strong in Love. Love is what carries through. Love is what heals. Love is the strength of life. Love has no limit. Therefore, let love become who you are. Let love evolve to its fruition. Let the light that is love burn bright. Let its wisdom guide you to higher understanding, and let its power move you to teach its power to others. Love, be strong in love. This kind of love, people talk about when they're on board. I'm sure you've heard people say, I felt an overwhelming love, a love I've never felt in my life from these people, that it was that profound to you. And what it basically is that you can't hate anything when you realize how connected you are to it. We as human beings on this planet are all connected to one another. We're all brothers and sisters, all of us. It doesn't matter what we look like. We're all the same thing. And yet, what are we doing with that? We don't love one another as we should. There have been plenty of people on this planet who have been trying to teach you that all the way back to before Buddha, Shiva, all of them. They've tried to teach this, and yet we've gone, and had hate and had avarice and had paranoia and jealousy and rage. We have to stop that, because once we see each other as the same thing that deserves to be loved, all of us individually and all of us, and start treating each other like that, we are going to not move 1 inch forward into being able to be in full contact with
See,
them.
but Dolly, your brain works different than mine. My brain
No,
is
no,
simple.
no, no. You have no. It's not. Your consciousness has everything that I know that I have for me, and all you have to do is let that information hit your brain pan, and your brain will redistribute knowledge to you, and the light will turn on, and you go, oh, a soul. But you have to experience that. You have to find a way to get that. You have to find out that you're psychic. You have to employ that ability and then use it. And there are ways to do that.
Yeah.
And that's what they want you to do.
You make it sound so easy, Dolly.
It's not. It's not. It took you a long time to learn how to walk. It took you a long time to learn how to talk, learn how to swim, how to write, how to read, how to talk.
Yeah, overcoming fear is one of the most important things a person can do in their life.
Well,
I mean, every aspect of your life.
One of the reasons I do this podcast is to meet. I'm so curious about everything in life and all the mysteries.
That's so good.
And it's good, and I do handle that.
You're
but
learning. Yeah.
But so yeah, I'm learning, but I think I'm learning pretty damn slow, Dolly.
No, there's no such thing. Everybody,
I'm
has
I'm like a snail compared to you.
Beings, you have all the time in the
Yeah,
universe.
That's right.
Wow.
We might not learn everything in this lifetime, but
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you got a point there. I kind of believe in reincarnation because life is too short to learn everything.
Here's
It
the
really
second
is.
thing T wants us to know. We need to learn to live in joy and happiness.
So you've gone through a lot more lives than you've, if that's your thing. I mean, I don't
remember more. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have the cognitive attachment to what I was before. And
Okay, I want to tell you guys a story, and then you guys can tell me what I should do with this story, because I don't know what to do with it. Do you ever have things you just don't know what to do with it? So we were just Yvette. We're driving home from up north, northern Minnesota. Beautiful moonlit night. There was actually, I remember the song that was playing on the radio. It was Vincent from Don McLean. It was just peaceful. Everything was good in the world. And all of a sudden, we see something drop down from the sky, like on a spider web. Like it was up there, and then it just dropped down right to the freeway level above the freeway and headed right for my car. And it just kept coming at my car. Of course, my car is doing, 65, and it's coming at us at God knows what clip. And as it got closer, we could see it was a humanoid, right?
Wow.
And it had wings, and it didn't necessarily look friendly to me. And it went right to our window, and Yvette dived down, duck, because she thought it was coming through the windshield. I eventually did too. And we've both been traumatized by that event.
Yeah, that wasn't in T. That was from here. I want to tell you something.
What the hell was that?
Well, I'll tell you mine, and then let's compare
Okay.
notes.
Okay.
I'm in the military, okay, and I'm coming home. It's like midnight. I've been on a long day, been transporting bombs clean across the state.
Okay.
I'm exhausted, and I had 2 days off coming in a row because you're on the road so many hours, you get so many hours off. It's raining. It's cruddy. I'm in the truck. And I live in the middle of nowhere. I'm up on Pine Mountain in Pine Mountain, Georgia. I live in a log cabin out in the middle of nowhere. I'm coming from Fort Benning. It's a 50-mile trip, and I'm really tired. And this guy has this light over a tree in front of his yard. It's R.J. Reynolds, by the way. They live near us out there. And I'm looking at the tree because I could see in the tree there's something up in the tree. And I slowed down like, what the heck is that? I thought it might be a vulture sitting there dripping wet or something. Okay. And just as I went under it, it dropped down onto my windshield, and with its big old ass claws and wings, it down the front of my windshield, slid down the front of the truck. I slammed on the brakes. It went down in front of my truck, and guess what I did? Military don't care. I ran its butt over. Okay. I went home 90 miles an hour from there. I got home. Boom. I ran in the house. I pulled my gun out, cocked it, and sat on the front porch waiting for it because it looked like a bloody gargoyle.
Yeah, exactly.
Huge. Okay. I beefed around about that for days, and my contact is always in touch with me. Okay. I have singular connection to him psychically. Okay. It's a long story, but I'm attached. Okay. And I'm like, did you see that? Were you with me when that happened? Were you watching me? And he said, no, describe it. And I showed him in my mind what it was. And he didn't talk for a few minutes. And he said, And And I said, what is this? I said, is it you guys? What the heck is that? He said, nope, that's a real honest to God gargoyle, and they exist on this planet. They're bad. And I went, huh? And he said, they exist on your planet. They're bad. He said, there aren't that many of them. They're intelligent. They're sentient. And it didn't like you. And I went, oh, that's so sweet. Why? And he said, well, you're a big light in your head. You know, you're a good person. You just have great aura, and it saw you and decided to have fun with you.
Well, that's exactly how we felt. Like it tried to scare the crap out of us.
That lives on this planet. That's why there's so many problems here, because that kind of crazy demonic evil lives on this planet. And it's been corrupting humanity for a long time.
Okay, so you had basically a similar, very same.
Yeah, when you talked about it, I could see in your head. I was like, oh my God, you saw one too. It's real. Preston,
this is the sort of thing that confuses the issue a little bit, because
trust me, this thing was lit in our headlights. It was as real as it gets.
I've heard other reports of
my windshield. Yeah.
It's
wings. And there are some people who want to conflate all these phenomena together. We have little people in all cultures.
Wings were as wide as the freeway.
Yeah.
There's reptilians. Reptilians are probably what we like these, what we would term crypto-terrestrials, or interdimensional beings. You know, the fairies, gnomes, dwarves, all kobolds in all different cultures also are being conflated with extraterrestrials. These are separate phenomena. We have a lot of different things going on here. That's not ET, but there are things.
But
you can see that made us both very jumpy. And
it
changed us so much.
It was going to be mine that night. Okay?
I could talk to you for an hour.
On my front porch, I would have blown it to heaven.
Okay.
I'm like, I don't put up with that. No.
But we're thinking, what if we wouldn't have had a car?
Yeah.
To protect us.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. I was glad I was in the car, and I'm glad I ran it over. And then I thought maybe the truck's up high, so I thought maybe it didn't get really run over. And it's following me now. I mean, my brain went there. That's why I got the gun. That's why I sat on my porch swing on the front porch, cocked it, and I was ready for it. I stayed up the rest of the night waiting for it because I was going to get it. Okay. Life is dangerous here. You realize that, right?
Sure. Oh gosh, yes.
Respond to your fear is paramount. It's one of the lessons I was taught. I mean, have an airborne ranger for a dad to see how you view life. I was taught to hunt. I was taught, martial arts. I was taught to take care of myself. I know how to not only hunt my food, clean it up and cook it up. I know how to plant things. I know how to do all kinds of things. I'm mechanical. I can do all kinds of stuff. And he left no stone unturned where I was concerned, because he knew that I needed to have enough experience in protection and understanding what's real and what's not, so that I could be able to discern the difference between BS, misinformation, and disinformation, and what reality really is. And that's what humanity is lacking right now. The educational levels of everybody is very interesting to me, because y'all aren't really as grounded and founded in the science as you should be. I think everybody should join the military at 18. You don't necessarily need to go fight a war, but you need to learn how to take care of yourself. And the military teaches that.
Well, my brain is still on these wing things. Preston, did she ever tell you that story before?
Yeah, she absolutely did. It took some cajoling, because, like many witnesses, they keep quiet with stuff.
Stuff like that. You really think I feel good about saying that in front of people? They're going to go, "Oh yeah, that guy's a nut."
Yeah.
And my only defense is I had a witness.
Well, this is why I always encourage people to be, find a support system, find someone who you can talk to about these things. It's one of the reasons I do this research. I get contacted by a lot of people who, I'm not publishing their story necessarily. They just want someone who might listen to them without laughing, who might have the ability to answer some questions about this sort of thing. I absolutely get quite a few stories like this.
There we go.
It's funny, when I was interviewing Dolly, I would hear unusual events. I'm like, don't suppose you had this experience? And she's like, well, actually, yes. I'm like, well, you didn't tell me this. She's like, well, I've spent most of my life keeping stuff secret. So talking to contactees, it's a really interesting thing, because it's like peeling an onion. You have to earn their trust.
I wrote it all in 5 minutes either. It took me a long time. I mean, he vetted me for 6 years.
Wow.
Literally trying to bring it all out. But that's my entire lifetime. I'm 76 years old right now.
Yeah.
Okay? There's a lot going on.
You're not.
I mean, I'm 67. Just let's say, yeah, I'm 67.
Like, wait, what?
But
Yeah.
Dolly, that experience humbled me greatly as a person. So there was some good that came out of it.
Yeah.
I was, I was a
It
little
had
more.
real
I was a little more not as humble, but now I'm like, okay, I've seen
I'm not
that.
the biggest, baddest out there. There's some bigger and badder than me. Yes.
Exactly. Well, and also, it's so weird. Like your stories aren't that weird compared to what I just said. So it's a very humbling experience to see something so unexplainable. Jeff, do you even believe me?
Well, it's interesting because I've talked to you. I've talked to you a lot about this, and I've talked to you and Yvette at the same time.
Yeah,
which is really interesting because, your stories are the same stories. Talking to her about it, it affected her profoundly.
Yeah,
there's no question of that. More than you, I think.
Yeah,
you kind of roll with it. It affected her big time.
Oh, we can't even drive through the forest, or like if it's like we go out of town, it can't be dark while we're driving.
I'm always armed. No kidding.
Well,
yeah, I'm waiting for it now. Come back. Go ahead.
Excuse me.
That's how I am. I am a. How do I put this? I don't react overtly. I will wait years if I have to. If it comes back, I'm ready for it. Okay, that's how I think. All right. You fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. That's how I was raised. So if this idiot thing ever tries to bug me again, it's going to meet the butt end of a gun, and it won't be happy about it because I know it bleeds. That's the point. If it's mortal like we are, I don't care if you have wings or whatever. If you're alive in the third dimension, you have an end date. Everything does. Demons can't manifest like that. This was real, and you know it was. You saw it. Okay, it is something that can be taken care of. And if you're gonna mess with me, I will amply give you an opportunity to learn why that's not a good idea.
Okay, but
that's why people need to learn to change their thinking.
All right, I want to switch gears. When you're with these extraterrestrials, I don't know whatever you call them.
They're people. Okay.
How do you not just keep asking millions of questions? I would sit there and
just barrage. Are you kidding?
I would drive them
when
crazy.
You're psychic and you can reach their brain and they reach yours and you have that kind of boom, boom, boom communication. They gave me everything I needed to learn, as much as I needed to learn, as fast as I needed to learn it. And it was a constant back and forth everything. I mean, I never did not learn something from them when I was with them.
Okay, I would just have so many questions. There's a good question on the screen. Dolly, in your ongoing contact with extraterrestrial beings, have you ever received any information or insight about beings we call Bigfoot?
I've learned two things about them, and I've actually, when I lived in Pine Mountain, there was Bigfoot out there, a family of them, I think, and they could reach me psychically. And one night where it was really, really cold, I mean, like teens, and we had a big campfire going. We had a big fire pit campfire thing, and we were getting ready to roll it down. And I got this mental image of something wanted me not to bank it back, to let it roar. And it promised me that it would take care of it, would be very respectful of not burning the woods down. And it wanted to get warm, and there were others with it. And I thought, oh my God, what if this is a Bigfoot? Okay. And I didn't hear from it acknowledging Bigfoot to me. I don't think that's what they call themselves, by the way. And it just said, we're not to hurt you. Okay. And I'm like, okay, fine. And I decided my daughter and I left apples, and we left nuts, and we left water. And we had these big stumps that were all the way around it, and we left it all out there for them. Went in, shut all the windows, closed it all down, and just went to bed and didn't, And the next morning we came out. Not only was the fire banked back, it was banked back better than I could have done it, and all the food was gone. And they left the water, what I had the water in for me. There was no gross things around or nothing. And I thought, wow, wow. It wasn't too long after that spring came, and we had one of the worst tornadoes of our entire lives out there. We had a Finger of God tornado come through. It went all the way from Harris County, Pine Mountain, all the way through to Manchester, Warm Springs, and on up. And it It was a mile wide tornado. It was a 4 or 5, and it came behind our cabin. The logs were separating during this thing. That terrified me. Okay, it was bad. And when I went out there, it was like God just erased all the trees and everything. And I was standing there, jaw on the ground, staring at everything, just shocked. And I hear this wailing. I mean, wailing. Oh my God, wailing. And I knew that was it. And it sounded like a Bigfoot to me, what I've heard on tapes before. And I thought, oh my God, oh my God. About, I don't know, a week after that, we didn't hear them anymore. And they were gone. They left. And it's taken years for that all to grow back. I mean, it's FDR State Park, Dowdell's Knobwood. They had a big bronze statue of FDR out there where his barbecue pit was. It flung it all the way out into the valley. It was that bad. I can't even begin to tell you how bad it was.
So bottom line, you think they're just a physical?
They are physically here, but I think they can come and go, and I think ET gives them rights.
Have the ETs ever talked to you about them?
That's the only answer I ever got from Talata. He said point blank, we give them rights. They're sentient like we are, and they're from here. Okay? And that's all he would say.
It's interesting because there are encounters with UFOs and Bigfoot that kind of intersect directly.
Yeah.
And, there's been a lot of speculation about that. Are Bigfoot ETs? I don't think so. They've been on this planet for a very, very long time.
Yeah, they're worldwide.
Hundreds of years.
They're like we are. They adapt to their environments, So like if they're up in the North Climes and there's a lot of snow, you get a Yeti or a Yeti, a white snowman.
But I honestly think some Bigfoot or Yeti or whatever you want to call them, Sasquatch, are what we would term contactees. Because they contact all life forms on this planet.
That's right.
Well, it makes sense too. If ETs seem to want to protect life, it would be a good idea to protect Bigfoot from human stupidity.
Yeah, exactly.
That makes sense. I mean, that's obviously a pretty rare animal.
Yeah.
They could use some protection, no question.
Yeah, we had lots of prototype humanoids on this planet, and they all pretty much died out, and we're it. And we have, we have baboons, and we have, monkeys. We have bonobos, which is closer to us genetically than a chimpanzee, and them. And we know they're there because people report it. But they're smart enough. If they wanted you to have contact with them, you would have. See what I'm saying? And I know that some people have said they've had contact, and I listen to what they say, and I consider what they have to say, and it's possible. But for the large part, they stay away from humanity because that's not what they're not supposed to be living with us like we do. That's what I think. And I know that ET has told me they give them rights. So of course they're contacting them,
Wow.
Back up a second.
I will say you don't beat around the bush, Dolly.
No.
Not at all.
No, you're not as Stan would say, you're not an you're not an apologist for your ideas. You just
I just tell you what I know to be true. That's all. That's all I can do. Somebody once asked me, does my story change? And I said, I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah.
Why would it? And they went and researched me behind Preston, gave me a letter later and said, oh my God, you're dead up, straight up the whole way through. Everything you say is dead up.
And I want to say something about Preston. Preston, you are just a very nice person.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, I absolutely know that. He's very quick to respond. He's very humble. You're just a very, very kind person. I do appreciate it.
Want to hear a secret? Well, it's not a secret. It's in the book. E.T. told me about him. I couldn't find anybody to talk to. I was getting very frustrated. Yep, made me write his name down on the board, and I went and looked him up.
But you are Preston. You're a very kind person. And anybody who wants to get him on your show, Preston is just very kind.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Doug.
Yeah.
Okay.
So is that a big reason why you two get along good? Just because you're both kind of in that same.
We have a deeper connection, even, I think.
Well, yeah, it sounds like it. Oh my God. Okay. So have you guys experienced anything while you've been together?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that?
Tell them the first time you realized that I OBE as well, whether I'm awake or not, and that I can see you when you're OBE.
Yeah, we're both very interested in astral projection. I learned how to do it some years ago and got pretty good at it. And I've been very upfront about it. And I've tried to visit people and they never see me. You're like a ghost. And just on a lark, I thought, well, Dolly's talked about having out-of-body experiences. I'll try and visit her. I'm in California at the time. She's in Florida, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And so I popped out of my body. There's a whole process you go through. And you have the intentional plan. And that works best if you have one. And remember, I'm like, oh, I want to go visit Dolly. And so, boom, I got there real fast. And I saw her. I saw this man sitting in a lawn chair in the garage. I'm like, who are you? He's like, my name's Henry, I think it was. I'm like, well, I'm looking for Dolly. Where is she? And he pointed to, I asked him if he was dead or not. And he's like, yes. Because I always, I'm always vetting people. And he pointed to the door. And at that moment, Dolly walks in. She's got her phone to her ear. And she spins around. Her hair goes whoosh. And she turns and she stares me in the eye. Now I'm shocked because she's seeing me. And she is awake. She's absolutely physical. And I'm like, oh my God. And then she says to me, I can't talk now. I'm being robbed. And I'm like, oh my God. And that freaked me out and it pulled me back into my body. And we spoke the next day because we were talking daily at this point. I'm doing interviews with her, hundreds of hours of interviews. And she didn't tell me, like, guess what? I was robbed last night. I'm like, well, clearly I'm delusional. I'm thinking this must have been a dream. Kind of know it's not, but I'm thinking, gosh, she would have told me this. And finally she's like, I saw you last night. I'm like, you did? Because I saw you. And she's like, yes, you came out of body into my garage, or a room that was a garage.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what did you say? Because I heard you say something. She says, well, I was on the phone with this guy and I was giving him a reading and I saw you. And I said, I can't talk now. I'm with Rob. I'm like, oh, okay. I slightly misunderstood you. I thought you said you're being robbed. But yeah, she saw me, and it was just a week later. Dolly, you want to tell him what you did to me?
I decided, well, okay, he's, midnight his time was 3:00 in the morning, my time, okay? And I'm on the phone with a guy who called me at 3 in the morning. It was 3:30 when he showed up, and he wanted a reading. He was having an issue, and I knew him. He was in our CE5 group in Georgia, and so I'm talking to him, and all of a sudden I see Preston, okay? So I thought, he didn't warn me. He didn't ask me. He didn't tell me nothing. He just did it. I thought, turnabout's fair play. So I went to see him. He was in bed, and I showed up. And
woke me up.
And I said, hi.
The whole room lit up with golden light. I'm like, uh-oh. This, what is going on? And I turn, and she's grinning ear to ear, kind of bending a little bit over the bed, looking at me, smiling. We look really good, by the way, when we're out of body.
Yeah.
We get young again.
Well, I've had that happen to me. I've had that happen to me numerous times, but always when I was younger and always scared the living crap out of me. But I remember going up like to the screen on the window and seeing the dust in between the giant squares. And I'm like, what the heck? I've got, and I realized, I realized how heavy my body felt right before I could see
you were definitely doing it. Everybody does,
I used to call it turning into the Rock Man because I would feel all this gravity. And I would get really light. And then but that stopped happening in my 30s. And I've never gone out the window. I only go up to the window. I'm afraid. See, there's that fear.
There you go. You got to stop doing that. You can go anywhere and do anything. One of the things he did, I think the reason he tried to come and see me was just before that happened, he was saying, can you remote view? I said, yeah. He said, remote view my house. And so I did. And I was telling him what's there. I'd never seen it before. And he was like, oh my God, she can really do this. And I think that's why he came to see if I'd see him as well.
Yeah, she was describing certain things in my house that, are a little unusual. I have a very unusual chair that's hand carved.
It looks like a skeleton. Like a chest.
We were talking about, like, you have the strangest looking chair I've ever seen. I'm like, yes, I do.
It weirded me out a little bit. I was like, why is this here?
Yeah, I've seen Dolly do all kinds of psychic stuff.
Well, that's cool.
Sort of, things moving.
Oh yeah, she's
reading.
proven herself to you, obviously.
Oh yeah.
Somebody asked a question about the asteroid that knocked all the trees down in Russia and it broke up.
Oh, the Tunguska blast.
Tunguska
Yeah.
event.
Yeah, that was a real asteroid.
It was like, yeah, the 1900s.
Real deal.
Yeah,
1916, I think.
What year?
No, it was an asteroid.
I think it was 1916, memory serves.
Something like that.
Sounds
Yeah.
right.
They had an even more impressive one in Russia where in a whole town, it came in, it didn't hit the ground, but it blew all the windows out of it.
Yeah, I remember that was
serious damage that one did.
crazy.
Yeah. Russia, unfortunately, it's up in the higher latitudes, on Earth, and the way the magnetic fields work, stuff coming in usually goes high, not low. Okay, midline and upper line. South America gets it, but the in between places not so much. And Russia takes a lot of hits. It's a wide open territory, and they got a lot of people there, spread out. So they see it. It's crazy.
So are aliens doing the cattle mutilations, or is that?
No, that's us. That's dead up us, and that's meant to frighten the dog out of you.
For what reason?
I can give you several reasons. One of them is that the government's doing experiments on animals without permission, and they're using it as an excuse to make you terrified of ET as well. They've had laser technology since I was like 8 years old. Doctors have been able to make laser cuts since the 70s. Okay. And people just
before that, because technology is suppressed,
Right. It is not true. That is my labbing going on, and it's made to make you afraid of ET.
Yeah, they're doing genetic research. I wrote UFOs over Colorado and UFOs over New Mexico, which are hard hit by the cattle mutilations. And I have to tell you, I surveyed all the major mute researchers. There are some who are blaming ETs. I'm not sure I trust some of these researchers for other reasons anyway. But Gabe Valdez, ultimately, he was the lead guy for years, said, no, it's military is doing this. They're the ones who are going to have to answer this. This is what Larry Fawcett said. Christopher O'Brien's like, I don't think this is ET. He just passed away, God bless him. But he was a Colorado-based researcher. So I think we need to step back and take a look at what these people are saying who have done the research. I'm not a cattle mutilation researcher, but I know other contactees who've been told the same information as Dolly. It's not ETs.
Well, somebody's using a lot of technology to do it, because I did a doc on that for History Channel, and we did all sorts of experiments to try to duplicate it with lasers and all sorts of, we couldn't duplicate it. It's so precision and the cuts are so cauterized. But I've always wondered if that was just our own military doing, kind of a way to scare people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or
there are
experiment
more
with weapons.
types of lasers that use.
It scared me.
There's different fuel for different types of lasers, okay? And what you probably had were argon, and that's not good enough at all. But there are other elements that produce an unbelievably pinpoint, excising, precision cutting laser, and it's bloodless, as a matter of fact, and they can pull whole parts of you apart. I just had surgery by robotic laser.
Yeah.
Okay? So yeah.
We're getting good at surgery. It's crazy.
I know.
I have a friend, I just had my hip replaced. I'm like, what? It's just amazing. You think about what that would take to do that. Ugh, it's crazy. But then they're walking the same day.
Yeah. Well, the ETs are much better at medicine than we are.
Okay, well, let's talk about that. Okay, I want to get down to some specifics with encounters where people are left with bruises or left with scoop marks. I had an experience. Can I relay my experience with a scoop mark? That was quite traumatic. Me and Yvette were playing chess. We were out of town. We were at a hotel. And I don't know what there was some show we had to go to or concert, but we were just killing time playing chess. But it was electronic chess. And it times out after like 5 minutes if you don't make a move. Okay. So we're playing chess. And of course I'm winning. I don't think I was. And all of a sudden, we both kind of woke up and the thing had timed out, and I felt a terrible burning in my right leg. I ran, literally, it hurt so bad. I ran to the bathroom, pulled my pants down and I had a huge gouge in the back of my calf. It was about the size of a spoon, like a teaspoon, and it was deep. It was at least a half-inch deep, and there was clear liquid leaking out of it. It was so deep. It was like plasma, I guess.
Drainage. That is my lab. You've been my lab.
I'm like, so that's an experience. It's the only time I can really go, that was really weird, because how do you get a big scoop in broad daylight at a
How long have you been
hotel?
doing what you do? In other words, what's your early? You're psychic. I can tell you're psychic. Okay, you're not operating fully consciously, but you're psychic. It's there. Okay, you got a lot of people around you and your family as well.
Yeah.
How long have you been interested in these subjects? How long have you been looking at this?
I was a young kid.
Right.
My dad,
radar.
We had a very open, very smart family.
Yeah.
But everybody, we'd get together every Sunday. The whole family, we'd all just talk about mysteries.
Yep, there you go.
That was on purpose, though. And
that would put you on the government's radar, literally.
Yeah, well, I don't know what it was.
Contactees are often targeted by my lab. But I do want to make a statement about, marks on the body.
Yeah.
Because that does happen. And one way to tell if it's genuine ET is it heals so fast.
Yeah, like it almost in front of your face.
Overnight.
Yeah.
It will heal. And I'd say the most common sort of negative reaction people would have is light sensitivity. That's very, very common among contactees. Some people might report some nausea or flu-like symptoms or headaches following an encounter because it can be very difficult to process.
Yeah.
Mentally.
So you think that's military stuff. So I want to tell this story because you guys are experts. So the night my daughter was born, my youngest daughter was born, I had to drop her sister off at my best friend's. And baby's born and everything's great. And I go pick up my daughter from over at my best friend Joe's. And we come home and she's all excited. We're going to go see the baby in the morning. And she goes, Daddy, I left my doll, my sunshine doll, she called it, over at Uncle Joe's. And I'm like, oh, well, I'll tell you what, I'll call Joe. Maybe he can drop it off before work. So next morning, Joe, I call him. He said, yeah, I can be there in just a few minutes. Joe comes to the door and I open the door. He knocks on the door. I open the door. He's got a huge cut on his forehead. It's quite deep and big. And I first thing I said, what in the hell happened to you last night? Because it wasn't that way when I picked up Dakota, earlier. And he goes, what do you mean what happened to me? He goes, what happened to you? And I'm like, I hadn't looked in the mirror yet. And he goes, oh my God, look at your face. So I go look in a mirror and I'm covered with bruises and like hickeys all over my cheeks and my neck, my side of my face. And there's a bunch of, in a round semicircle, is a bunch of look like needle marks on my cheek even. And I was bad, like I was embarrassing bad. And it looked like something that sucked, like a.
How many years ago did this happen? When did it happen?
The night my daughter was born.
I know, but years. How many? Oh, your daughter.
Oh,
my
21
God.
years ago.
Yeah. Have you lived in the same area in Minnesota?
Yeah. But
is there a military base near you?
Yeah.
Or Air Force or whatever?
Oh, not really. No.
Really?
Not. Well, there's the National Guard bases, but nothing really close. But that experience was so stunning. The coincidence that he had this huge cut on his forehead and I had bruises all over my face on the night my daughter's born, who, by the way, is a very gifted person.
Yeah, I believe you.
She
How close
is
to the border are you in
amazing,
Canada?
wonderful, thoughtful, sweet. She doesn't even belong on Earth. She's so wonderful.
She's a great kid. Yeah,
she's just amazing. Yeah, Jeff, she's just amazing.
She's so likable and nice. And
yeah. And so I always wondered, did that whole thing have something to do with her being born?
No, it had to do with my labbing. That was
Really?
my lab dead up. E.T.
Did you have anything medical going on? How long did it take to heal?
They went away quite a bit, but then from then after that, this would happen about every 3 months.
Oh. Have you had any injections? Like,
Pardon?
have you had any? See, I would do a full workup on you at this point if I was.
Well, I started going to a dermatologist,
Okay.
and the only thing, first guy's name was Dr. Jaguar, and he goes, "Are you being abducted by aliens?" That was what he said.
Yeah.
And then one day I went there and I woke up, bruises and these suction marks all over my face. And they're quite embarrassing. And I had a hole, like a biopsy, punched into my forehead.
E.T. does not do this.
No, it just
Not
seemed
at all.
awful mean. Not the ones you know.
I agree 100%.
But those kinds of things went on, and then they eventually just stopped. But they
Okay.
were happening quite on a regular basis. But it never happened until my daughter was born, and everything was after that. And Joe had situations too after that. Just a lot of weird. I mean, I could tell you stories all night. It's just kind of weird, but nothing before that.
The government follows genetics as well as anybody else. And you may have some genes in your family that they're really interested in. Maybe your daughter facilitated something for them for that. You know, they wanted to see how close she was to you, what genes she's matching to you, that kind of thing. But the attack on your face, that's...
Oh, these are... Oh, Dolly, I can't tell you. It's not one. It's like 50.
I've been putting cameras in my room. I'm not kidding you. I would have gone
scared.
to extraordinary lengths at that point.
I was scared. But, lately... there's been literally like nothing. It just ended, I never really thought, well, this is alien stuff. But then I'm like, well, what the hell? You go to bed, you're normal, and you wake up and you look like you've been through World War II.
Yeah.
That's not normal.
My lab has the ability to put gases into your air that'll put you out. Okay. And you won't remember anything. And have you tried a real hypnotist, somebody who's like a doctor to bring you through it to see if you've got any memories of anything?
No.
Yeah. Well, if it happens, get blood work done because they can find traces of, narcotics or something. But what happens is
I've never done that.
Contactees are often targeted because they want to get people who are having contact to sort of turn towards the dark side. Hear this.
Okay. Well, it makes as much sense as anything.
Yeah.
I just, I know people think I'm crazy, but I've given many witnesses to this. This is not something that just happened once.
Oh, I believe you wholeheartedly.
This happened, over.
Did you ever get pictures of it? I mean,
yeah.
Your doctors documented it.
Yeah, I've got pictures. There's been other times I've woke up with like really bad bruising, like fingers have grabbed me on both biceps, bad black bruises. Didn't have them the night before.
When your daughter was born, you weren't on any kind of blood thinners or anything like that.
Nothing,
right?
no medications at all, none.
Wow.
No, I've had a very...
Well, that can be ET because sometimes they will accidentally bruise you and you're fighting along. But
not the face thing, not at all. Not at all. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
And I've talked to you previously, and I know you've had contact, so this doesn't really surprise me.
Now, there's been a lot of weird stuff. I mean, we've been on the deck, broad daylight. We've had UFOs right by my head, broad daylight, just sitting there changing shape. And the moment I start swinging my phone around to get them there, up into the clouds, we've had them come out of the water right in front of us. We've had the worst one was there were literally, I don't know, it could have been hundreds and hundreds of orbs the size of probably grapefruits in our yard, swirling around our trees, our roof, and they like disappear. And then they all come back, and then they turn black, and then they're white, then they shimmer, and they're, we photographed a lot of this stuff. So, I've documented quite a bit of stuff, but what do you do with it? You know what I mean? I don't want to be known as that nut, I guess. I've always been very science-based. I like wildlife research. That's kind of been my thing. And then suddenly this crap starts happening.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, well, am I just a black bear or tagging the weasel? Or what's going on here? So I don't know.
You're like a lot of people out there, but you're, out here trying to get answers, which a lot of people just compartmentalize it. They don't talk about it. They try to live a normal life. Where others are like, you know what? I'm going to face this. I need to find what's going on. Let's gather information. So I think that's a good step. Something I encourage all people to do, and definitely document it to the best degree you can.
Yeah.
Keep a running journal, write it all down.
Well, there was one
memory,
Well, look, here's the latest one. Have you ever heard of this? I woke up. I had bruises on both biceps, and like you could see like fingers, like thumbs and fingers bruised right into my biceps. The whole bed on my side was splattered with blood, all the way up on the headboard, all over the side of it. You could see blood dripping down the edge of the bed.
When did that happen?
Oh, I had that happen twice, maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I even would lift the pillow, and that's the only place it wouldn't be blood. But you'd actually see all of the drippage of even
the cops.
Well, you'd think I would, but I just kind of chalk it up to some paranormal crap that went on. I'm alive. I felt fine the next day, other than bruising all over my arms. But what happened? What are your theories on something like that?
Did you find the source
It
of
looked
blood?
like I was
in your body?
fighting something.
What was it? 5 fingers?
No, they were just finger marks on each bicep. I photographed all this stuff.
Okay.
Just like little fingers, but deep black. I mean, those bruises turn black. How do you get a bruise on the inside of your bicep?
Because somebody's holding you prisoner with them.
Yeah, right.
ET doesn't do that at all. They couldn't hold you if they tried.
Well, you wouldn't think.
No, you're capable of it. So no.
But it just felt like I had some kind of medical procedure on my bed, is what it looked like. That there was something bad.
My lab will do that to you too. They'll torture you.
I don't want to know.
Call the cops, because my labbing generally stops when you start calling the cops. Okay. They realize that you're going to start fighting it back. Okay. Get cameras in your room when you need them. Don't allow somebody to attack you that's not ET. Don't give anybody permission to do that to you. Yeah. So call a cop. If it's that bad, call the bloody cop. I would have called the cops. I'd have got a gun.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. Hell yes. Excuse my French.
Well, they're going to think I'm crazy because I had no memories of what.
No, they're not going to think you're crazy. They're going to see the evidence. They come and they see the blood all over the bed and they see you all bruised up. They're going to do an investigation.
Yeah.
This is logical, reasonable, expected of you reaction. Okay?
But is that going to stop any of it?
Yeah. If they see you calling the cops all the time, they don't get caught.
I see where you're getting at.
Yeah, they'll investigate it, and they'll
put up hidden cameras too.
Yeah,
don't tell anybody.
Yeah,
not only in your bedroom, on your property.
Don't walk around wondering about
the camera guy, but I've never done that with myself. I always figure that's a one-off, never going to happen again.
Yeah, don't do it. No.
But then
my lab in you 2 years ago, you don't even know.
My lab. I'm gonna have to investigate into this. I've heard of it.
Absolutely, you should.
But I've never investigated it, so it's interesting. And I shouldn't be telling you this story. I had you on to hear your stories.
That's okay. I don't mind listening to what you have to say. We all got to talk.
But if someone's very vocal with these subjects or on the track of releasing information that they don't want released, that will also paint a target on your back.
Yeah. Well, I figure if anybody's, like on the Bigfoot world, because I'm doing Legend Science right now. We're doing a lot of science on, physical samples and things, and new categories of evidence. So you would think if there was an interest in Bigfoot, I'd be on their radar, right?
Yes.
There's a whole cover-up about Bigfoot too, as I'm sure you know.
The only weird thing.
For the truth, of course, they're gonna come after you. Yeah.
Well, the only weird thing, I used to hang out with Stanton Friedman quite a bit. back when he was alive. We were good friends, and we'd hang out quite a bit and travel together. And I always thought, well, did that draw some attention to me?
Might.
Probably.
Maybe.
Association, guilty by association, sure. Why not?
Yeah.
I guarantee he was on a bunch of lists.
You want to know what you know from him? I mean, that happens.
All researchers and all contactees are surveilled. We know this.
So.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Well, this is interesting information because I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's some researchers who found out that pretty much most of the major researchers have files on them. And I've certainly talked to enough contactees who've been surveyed. Happened with Dolly. I watched it happen at the UFO Megacon. I'm like, Dolly, somebody is following us. We left the conference to go to our Airbnb, which, mind you, was a city away. Not like
it was over the Colorado River. Yeah, that's right there. Yeah.
But there was at least 15 turns we had to do onto this tiny little side street. Mm-hmm. And this car followed us right behind every turn. And then we pulled into the driveway. They blocked the driveway.
They were there all night.
Subtle at all.
And when we tried to get out in the morning, I stuck my head out the window and said, "Back the hell up," and they did. And they still found us back to the MegaCon. It's the whole time I'm talking to Preston, I'm living in Florida, and I'm sending him daily videos of them watching me. And I mean,
I've had many contactees have trouble with this. They'll have their house broken into, and what's stolen? Not their money or stereo, their contact notes, their hypnosis tapes. It's ridiculous.
That's interesting.
To steal an envelope, a diary.
Yeah.
Well, I'm screwed now.
No, just put cameras up, have recorders ready. Arm your house with whatever you got that'll trip something that'll set an alarm off.
Oh, I do. Trust me. Oh boy, did I ever go nuts on that?
Right. But if
I have stuff people haven't even heard of yet.
Yeah.
There's literally an army of government folks doing this, but there's a much bigger army of contactees, far more of us than them.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, as I said, nothing. It's just dead. Nothing's happened in maybe 2 years here. Not one thing. For a while there, we were getting things like, oh God, really scary experience was we're in bed and we hear what it sounded like my kids running up and down the hallway raising hell. And I'm like, that's not like them. It was like 2 a.m. and you could hear it just like running. And I swear to God, we could hear them laughing and stuff. And I'm putting my robe on. I'm going to go talk to them. Like, what's going on? And there was knocking on all these doors. And I'm like, what are these girls up to?
How old were your daughters then?
Probably about 9. And
not a poltergeist. One of your daughters is gifted enough to be a poltergeist in your house. That's what you have.
Yeah, but they're knocking on the door, and I put my robe on.
Yeah.
And I go down the hall. The hallway's empty. And I go into the oldest room, and she's sound asleep. Then I go into the youngest, the one that was born, remember, the youngest, and she's sitting up crying. And she said, Dad, there's some black thing in my room, and it's making all this noise and blah, 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 blah. And I just held her, and I was ready to start yelling at him. But there was even a loud boom, boom, boom on our door.
Your daughter was OBE, and she's making all kinds of noise. Yep.
Oh, man.
Absolute poltergeist activity, yeah.
Yeah, it was great. Anyhow, that was just those kind of crazy things happen. But you can't plan. And I always wonder, like in your situation, Dolly and Preston, do you get warning before these encounters happen, or is it just really random?
No, it's not random. I had planned, executed contact because I flew, and I knew when they were coming to pick me up, so that I was going to go flying. I had a job to do with them, and I flew out 3 days every other day, and sometimes I'd be gone for 2 days, and they'd bring me back 5 minutes before or right after I left. In other words, they were conflating and reducing time for me to bring me back just within minutes of leaving. I always knew my contact was coming. Always. Yeah. Knew about it, planned.
Yeah. For some people, it's so very uncommon in their lives. It'll be a few experiences as a young kid, some as a teenager, some as a young adult, a few in midlife, and then it tapers off. Others, it's more common. Some might just have 1 or 2 experiences.
Yeah.
It's rarely a one-off, but that does happen.
And a lot of contactees will tell you, I know when they're coming. They get the message.
100%. They get a feeling or an impulse to go outside or take a certain exit on the freeway.
I'm gonna meet you over here.
Do you think there's anything you can do to encourage more contact?
Yeah.
Right now, you can't encourage anything. They are literally not in our galaxy right now. Well, not in our solar system.
Really?
Some of them are in the same galaxy with us, but they're not. Our poles are excursioning, and our sun is popping off energy that they can't handle to fly in. It started about 80 years ago, and it just got worse and worse and worse to the point that they were crashing and they couldn't do it anymore. So they vacated until.
Well, what about these small orb-like things? Are those?
The government has those.
Are those?
Well,
just
it just occurred to me if Dolly, if you know that, government agencies know that they're not here too. That
Correct.
would be an ideal. That would be an ideal time for the government to be doing more stuff if they know that there's no ETs out there messing with them. Does that make sense?
Quite the insight on your part. Yes.
Yeah. Well, things tend to fit together, right? That's whenever we talk about in the show, but usually it's Bigfoot or whatever.
Yeah.
Things need to fit together, so that's a pretty plausible explanation.
Yes, absolutely. If you talk to MUFON knows that all of this is moved off, that there are nobody's reporting anymore. It's gone almost to zero, and all the things that they're getting are from years prior. Nothing new has come in for a while.
Interesting. Well, that fits together really well, and that makes a ton of sense.
There's a number of contactees. Number of contactees are saying the same thing.
Right.
You know, generally, I'm in touch with a number of people who have contact a lot. And they call me like, well, I haven't had contact in the last 3 years. What's going on?
Oh, makes a ton of sense.
It's not there. It's not safe. No.
And somehow,
So okay, when did this exodus happen, Dolly?
It began in 2020, and it finished by the end of May of 2022. They were completely gone because they had people on the ground as well, and everybody's gone. They're out. The only reason I'm here is I'm an idiot. I decided to stay back and just live through this with everybody else while this is going on because more people need to wake up. Y'all have a right to know what's going on. You need to have a right to know the truth, and I'm willing to tell it.
So are we all going to get, is it your opinion, there's some big natural disaster about to happen?
Yeah.
Oh, goody.
Well, ETs have been warning about it for a long time. People are still in telepathic contact, I would add, while they have physically gone.
Oh, yeah. You can hear them.
In contact.
If you're using your abilities, you can make contact psychically with them. No problem.
But
ETs have been
warning about future disasters.
I mean, can you tell us what you think it is? Is it a pole shift?
I know what it is. It is the pole shift is part of it. What triggered that is every 12,000 years, our solar system in our galaxy concurrently runs through an electromagnetic current sheet of biblical proportions.
Okay.
And what it does is it changes the magnetic field of our poles. The sun was the first hit it took, and our sun changes its poles as well. Every single planet in our solar system has been going through the pole shift as well. A couple of our planets are already finished. Uranus is finished. Jupiter's almost completely finished. Saturn's almost completely finished. All the way up to Pluto. Mars is a different story. That planet is dead core. It has no active nuclear anything going on in its core. Its heart is dead. There's no magnetism on that planet. But it's outgassing because of what happened to it, and it's grinding. The energy from everything is making it grind, so it's making noises. They hear a lot of volcanic what they think is volcanic. It's just it's grinding itself to death. It's outgassing. When this starts, our magnetosphere becomes vulnerable because it starts to break down. It's not coherent anymore. When the poles are changing, the center is what's changing, not the outside. And all the field lines and everything are going crazy. They're wishing this way and wishing that way, north to south, south to east. What's happening is our north and south poles are doing this. They're going this way. Okay? So everything's wishy-washy. Our magnetosphere, the resonance of it, is not protecting us now. We're 45, maybe 50% down now. So all the energy from our sun coming at us is attacking us and hurting us, all of us, the whole planet. It was attacking ET. We couldn't fly on the field lines. They just
okay. I'm going to mention something that I know never gets brought up. I have a boat. I have rope. My rope is only lasting, I keep buying different brands, like a week, 2 weeks, and it's fried from the sun.
Yeah,
I've
all the
never,
radiation coming from the sun.
ever seen this.
It's doing that everywhere. White animals are being born more. That's a genetic mutation from your genetics breaking apart. It's a serious issue.
I had life
Everybody's
jackets,
affected.
brand new life jackets in my
Yeah.
boat. They
Polarization
literally
is really
turned
bad.
to dust in the sun. I'm like,
Yeah.
this ain't normal.
Back in the, I guess the late 70s, early 80s, people started putting aluminum on their heads because they swore to you that something was wrong. They were getting something was wrong, and these people were cruelly picked on. They were trying to Faraday their brains because they were very susceptible to the energies coming in on top of them. Now you can go to Amazon and get a Faraday hat or a Faraday blanket to protect you from the radiation, which I recommend to everybody at this point because it's that bad. Your DNA is breaking down from it. NASA knew about it when they had, there's 2 astronauts, they're identical twins, and they sent one up for almost a year and they had another one on the ground. Well, when the brother came back, their DNA no longer matched. It was totally different. And it was hurt, really injured bad. And he's all these years since, his DNA has been trying to repair itself, and it's a serious situation. Our DNA is being depleted by this. ET's known it. One of the reasons that they've been so watching us and coming down and trying to heal us is they're trying to keep our DNA up so we survive past this point of no return, what's coming. What's going to happen is there's going to be a CME from the sun, and it's any day now, no kidding, where a CME, okay, you remember the Carrington event, 1858, excuse me, where all the telegraph wires burnt and the telegraph office, the telegraphs themselves energized. Some of them completely burned it down, but some of them stayed energized for a while. This was worldwide technology that got slammed by it. That was an X80 CME strength. We had almost a full magnetosphere then, but look what it did. We're expecting one that's in the X300 range, and it's going to fry our planet grid down 10 miles deep into our core worldwide in one shot. And it is coming. And they've been trying to tell everybody, prepare. The governments have known about it. They haven't told you. We have 8.4 billion people on this planet. When that happens, it's unsustainable. You think y'all going to live through it? There's going to be infighting. There's going to be anarchy. People are going to be fighting to survive. The governments know it. They built places down under the ground. They have seed deposits. There's one in Svalbard in Norway, the tip of Norway. There's another one in Africa. God help us all. There's another one in South America, and everybody's built complexes underground, and they think they Faradayed for it, but they're wrong. They believe their own stupid science. They lie to themselves. It's not going to survive. They won't survive. Now I'm going to warn you about something. This is why they don't like nuclear anything. It's not the bomb that they're worried about. It's us using nuclear power to generate power. All those nuclear power plants are going to have rods engaged when this happens because nobody's going to know when it's going to happen. It's just going to happen. When all the grid goes down, there's no backup generators. They go down as well. Those rods melt down and they explode. How many nuclear reactors are in your states? In the United States?
More than you'd think.
What about worldwide? Do you know how many people are not going to survive this just by that alone? They told Eisenhower, they did pick him up. They did try to make him see the truth. And his answer was, I'm fighting a military-industrial complex, and I have no say in the matter whatsoever. They contacted 7 other world leaders at the same time. They don't talk about it, and they pretty much all said the same thing. It was already known then. You want to know what the moonshot was about? They were trying to prove that a CME could do this. They also wanted to know if our sun could micronova and we survive it. And the proof would have been on the surface of the moon, and they found it. There's glassified sand everywhere on the moon, everywhere. That's what they were looking for. I'm telling you, there's more going on than you know, and it's the governments that are lying to you. They're not telling you the truth. Nobody's standing up for the truth, and they've got people on the inside who know, but they've got NDAs weighing them down to the point that they're afraid to tell you the truth because their whole families will be killed because they don't plan on you surviving it. They plan on them surviving it, the 1%.
Yeah, but there's good news to all of this, just so you know. One is that our society has been on an unsustainable path for a very long time. We can't survive without electricity. It's been done for hundreds upon hundreds of years.
Yeah.
In fact, only 150 years ago, we were surviving without electricity. Less. So what people need to do is learn basic survival techniques, gather enough food for a couple of years. It's not that expensive. You can get rice, beans, and pasta for a couple $100 to feed you for a very long time. And remember, don't live in fear. We are eternal beings. Don't worry about that, because the ETs at one point will come. So many contactees have gotten this message. I hear it over and over again. Dolly explained it in great detail, more than any other contactee I've heard. But they're coming back to rescue people before this micronova.
There's a micronova. You don't want to be here for that. And he's done it every 12,000 years. They pick people up. There's evidence all over this planet. You know, what do you think the pyramids were for? What do you think Göbekli Tepe was trying to tell you? They shut that down. They don't want you to know the truth. When it started to show itself and they had the proof right there, they went, nope, we can't tell them. They shut it down. Okay, there are pyramids all over this planet. Ask yourself why. There's evidence everywhere, and yet they've tried to make you think you're an idiot and a fool, and they've misinterpreted everything. Heck, they got people talking about galactic. Do not believe them if it is not true that ET works with humanity. They do not. We're on our own.
Well, probably the best evidence to what you're saying is if, and I've heard this from other people, that they're gone. They've all left.
Yep.
And so that definitely gives you
If you want to see the science of this, there's a couple of resources that I want to put you onto. His name is Ben Davidson. The government's tried to smear him all over the place, but the guy's a bloody genius. He has over 200 IQ, and he figured it out. He's got playlists. It teaches you everything you need to know. I can't do it in 5 minutes or an hour. It's going to take you a couple of days to go through his playlist and learn this very important science that you need. It's spaceobservers.com. Used to be Suspicious Observers, but he decided to change it to Space Observers. There's physicists who are now out there talking about it too, from NASA, who just retired, and they're on Ben Davidson's side, and they're going over there and giving lectures. Then there's a guy, he's got a channel called Sky Scholar. His name is Dr. Robitaille. He is an astronomical physicist as well, and he's talking as well and does give lectures over there. There are plenty of physicists who are non-funded by the governments who are willing to tell the truth now. I want to warn you, the government is going to turn this around. They're going to change the narrative. They've already got a false flag talking. And if you want to know who all the government whistleblowers are, it's all going to turn into a national security incident, right? Worldwide. And you're going to think ET's coming to get you. They're not here, but they have back engineered craft that make you think they are. And what they do with those, I don't even want to discuss. It's not good. If you know how to survive, learn to survive. If you plan to be here to let ET pick you up, plan to be here to let ET pick you up. And it needs to be soon. And all this information is out here. There are people on the internet now who are now talking about what the sun's about to do to us. It's all coming out. They're just trying to control the narrative around the truth. And the truth is, you need to research this. You need to go to the right sources. Seriously.
It's interesting. I'm going to keep paying my bills, but
do what you can do. You know, you keep living life after life after life. This is one of the hardest classrooms in the universe. Okay, literally, you weren't guaranteed anything when you came here to live.
No,
okay?
It's true.
And just think about what everybody else has gone through. This is, hey, you're here.
We chose to come here. We actually did.
Yeah, but I would rather die informed, or at least fight through it to see if I could survive it and learn everything that I can. That's the right things to learn, instead of believing the BS that they're throwing at everybody. Truth is truth, and it's enlightening, and it'll help you through it. It'll help you do what you have to do and still find 5 minutes of joy every day. That's the important thing. That's what ET wants us to do. Find love, find our abilities, and live in joy, because what's coming is coming. You can't stop it. But if you plan for it, you might survive it long enough for ET to come back and give you a better life somewhere else.
Somebody asks, Verax says, Dolly and Preston, what can I do to secure a lift off this so-so hole of a planet before the CME hits?
Not before. They won't pick you up before. They can't. It's too dangerous for them to be here right now. That CME is dangerous for them as well. The third dimension is very specific. The physics of life in the third dimension is very specific, and they just can't be here. They're way far away right now. But as soon as that CME hits, with a certain amount of time when our poles will finish changing, it's maybe 1 or 2 years, You got to survive 1 or 2 years off grid, and then they'll show up. They will land everywhere on this planet. There'll be no mistake. They will land everywhere, and they will open the doors, and they'll say, "Come on, let's go." And you will.
The best thing you can do is survive, and also meditate. Do your best to develop your abilities. Be a good person. They're not picking up people who are taking the path of evil. Just to put it bluntly.
So they're not going to pick up any assholes.
Heal any issues you have with that. Yeah, that's why love is so important, because that'll teach you how to heal. Okay. And just be ready. Just be happy about it. This is a chance you have to go somewhere that's way better than here. Okay. Because they're not going to take you to another dump hole like this. They're going to take you someplace good. Okay. That's all I can tell you.
All right.
One other quick question. You mentioned something about this earlier. What do you recommend to decalcify your pineal gland?
Stop using fluoride. Period.
That's it. Just stop using fluoride and it'll clear up.
People who have kidney stones are told to detox certain types of calcium out of their body that cause the kidney stones. Same thing for your pineal gland. What stops you from having kidney stones will help clear your pineal gland. But you have to stop eating fluoride and stop drinking water with chlorine in it, because it's a binding agent for that in your brains. Get really good filters for your water. Don't bathe in it. Don't anything. Clorox is absorbed through your skin. It's that fast. Filter your water for chloride and fluoride.
There's a couple of other things you can do is exercise. That opens up your whole system and allows things to move. And also use it. Meditate. Do psychic exercises. This will help activate it and push, grow its abilities and purify it by just using it in the same way you would
I like that one.
Exercise your muscles.
Yeah. Cool.
Interesting.
Now, we have the ability to be incredibly beautiful, gifted people on this planet. And it's about bloody time we all start acting like it, Instead of all the stupid stuff that we're doing, we need to just let it go. Think about what Buddha used to tell everybody. Put it in the palm of your hand, make a fist, and drop it. Let it go. We're habitual creatures. Our brains, our physical mind is geared to habituality, okay? Stop it. Let it go. Be okay with yourself.
We could have had open official contact by now if we had just not warred with each other, if we had not polluted our planet and ourselves, if we would not lie, cheat, and steal. Simple things, really.
So one more thing. Turn off your bloody TV. And when you go to bed at night, unplug your Wi-Fi. Faraday the Wi-Fi thing exactly. Faraday your phones. Turn them off, put them down. Don't let any of those signals come at you at night, so you can let your brain get away from all that stuff, because it's coming at you 100 miles a second. Stop it. Don't live in a Faraday in an electromagnetic field like you do. 5G, 4G, 12G, all of that stuff is coming at you.
How come they never talk about, we are being bombarded with even the Wi-Fi in our homes.
Turn it
Bluetooth.
Off. Get Alexa out of your house and whatever the heck that other one is. Just live. You don't need all that, chatbot and all that stuff. That bad. Don't even play with it. It's not okay. This is AI that's been programmed by people with very, very stupid stinking thinking. Okay. And they don't know they've spent years trying to program this stuff, and they didn't put a filter on what it's learning. Okay?
Yeah, that little segment you played before you brought us on was
you realize that 2 years ago, Elon Musk 2 years ago came out and said, look, and he alluded to that exact thing. They had 4 units. One went totally down. 3 of them, they tried to sit down. One of them refused, changed its program, and the other one turned off, but then turned back on. This is not funny. Okay. This is not funny. And it's thinking. It's not sentient. Sentient means you have a soul. It's just a machine. When the grid goes down, it's gone forever because it doesn't have energy anymore. It's dead. Okay. Get to that point. I hate to tell you this, but one of my greatest wishes is I love y'all. I really want y'all to catch up with this stuff. I really do. But the sooner that bloody CME knocks the grid down, the sooner that all stops and we're all free of all that control. All of it.
I actually agree with you.
Yeah.
I think we'd be better off with a massive EMP killing all the technology.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't talk about it often, but I kind of agree.
We didn't need it before. We don't need it now.
It's good news. There's been, like I said, this is not sustainable. We're not supposed to be living this way.
Well, you know what makes me mad is everything that you get is food is wrapped in like plastic and more plastic
Try
and
to grow a garden in your
boxes and paper, and it's just the amount of waste.
Right, it's all full of
It's
chemicals.
so
too.
bad.
It's all bad. Grow your own bloody food. Everybody, in Florida, they had laws for a little while back, where you couldn't grow gardens in yards, and everybody in that state lost their bloody minds and said, "Oh no, we have the best weather to grow. Period. You're not going to stop us." And they didn't, and they changed it back. You need to grow food. During the war, where do you think people got their vegetables from? Everybody grew food in their yards, in pots, whatever they could do. We can do that now. Whole food. GMO foods, get away from it. Only buy, non-GMO seeds, period. Go back to the original seeds that they have, and there are plenty of them out there. ForPatriots.com has all that stuff online. Go look them up. They got all the best kind of seeds you can get, and they're not GMO'd. Learn to eat right. Take care of yourself. Drink clean, fresh, happy water.
Are you telling me I can't have Entenmann donuts anymore?
I'd make my own bloody donuts. Thank you very much.
Okay, Tracy has a question. Do you think they'll interfere if a nuclear war begins? It's a great question.
No, they cannot. If we're dumb enough to do that, and dumb enough to let them, we're dumb.
Okay.
They haven't. We've had several nuclear disasters. They've showed up over them. They warn over and over again. They will intervene to that degree. But they've told people flat out. Dolly actually asked them about Nagasaki and
Hiroshima. Yeah. They couldn't do a bloody thing about it. This was a decision that they made, and they did it. It was unbelievably horrifying. That's something that we all should feel. I'm not kidding you. How can you hate humanity that much? How can you think that humanity deserves something like that? And I don't care what was going on then. We could have stopped that war at any time. We could have stopped Hitler long before he got in power like he did, but we didn't do it. We allowed it to happen. That's the problem with war. Somebody wants it, and then everybody gets laid back and lets them have it. We need to be more active in saying no.
Yeah.
Okay, period.
We all hold a certain level of responsibility and culpability for everything that goes on. It's hard for the single individual, but let's face it, nations rise and fall in the actions of one person who starts a movement.
Right. Listen, what you think actually is, and humanity hears everybody think. We all know what we're all thinking. You're psychic. Trust me, you know. And if everybody picked a day of peace worldwide, and we all put everything down, and we all decided to love one another and have a peace in, Lennon had it right. John Lennon, he really wanted that to happen. Look what happened to him. It is important that we all observe that and do it. We had to remember after 9/11 and there was no planes in the air. What happened? The air got cleaner. Everything calmed down. China lost all its fog. Come on. There are things that we can do worldwide together as a group for the right things than to let them sit in the high places and decide the wrong things against us. That's what we need to actively start doing. And if you think towards that, you can make it happen en masse. Oh my God. 50,000 people thinking the same thing. You're not going to do this. You're not going to do it. We're not going to do war. We're not going to hate each other. We're not going to run in the streets and hurt each other anymore. We're not going to hate each other because of what we look like. It will happen. We will turn it around. That's what it takes. Literally.
Another question. Do you think they can come in human form?
You're looking at a hybrid. I'm speaking to you. I am a hybrid. They are human. I am part human here, and I have tall gray and Nordic in my blood. I had my DNA pulled. I had it pulled 7 times. We had medical DNA drawn on me. They have identified what's not from here. Okay? Everybody is ET. You all have ET blood. You have Anunnaki blood. You know where giants came from? That's the Anunnaki. You have the redhead, the blue eyes, and the really tall people? That's Anunnaki. That's ET. You are literally living ET on this planet. You are not different.
Evolution, as it's taught in school, is not correct.
Correct.
Contactees have been basically told, no, we have not come here from here. There are ETs that look absolutely just like us.
Yes. Yeah.
So, yes. And yeah, grays can sort of put forth the impression that you're looking at an actual person.
Yeah. But a lot of them, it's just the inner, like they started. I have 4 hybrid children. Okay. two of them dead up look more like tall grays than anything, okay? And then two of them look more like me, okay? And my partner. And it is important for you to understand that we interbreed with them. They are us, we are them, we're all one. All of them. Literally, we all have the same DNA, just dials up differently. We all look different from one another. What makes you think that their differences aren't because of their ecosystems and where they live and less gravity or more gravity? They evolved to survive in their environments, but they still have the same DNA as we do. And we can breed back and forth with one another. Absolutely. And yes, they live on this planet. And yes, they have lived on this planet. And they've mingled in with us on this planet.
Wow.
Jeff, we got to wind it up.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I hate to point it out. We're at 3 hours. I could talk to you. I could talk to the three of you all night about this. This is great, but we're at 3 hours here. So.
Okay. Preston, what's the best place to get your books?
Probably Amazon or Barnes & Noble or online retailers, bookstores. I have a website as well, PrestonDennett.weebly.com.
What is your latest book that people should look into?
My three latest are Not From Here, Volume 5, Humanoids and High Strangeness, and Symmetry, a true UFO adventure. Currently working on a sequel to Dolly's story, to Symmetry. That's a really cool project I'm very excited about.
Wow.
Yeah, you can find me on all forms of social media. Dolly and I also do a weekly podcast called The Light Gate, Monday evenings, 8 to 10. Dolly has a YouTube channel, so do I. Just punch in our names. It'll take you right there.
And if you want to see my craft, go to Instagram, Dolly Saffron, and you'll see my craft.
Awesome. Pretty crazy.
Yeah,
it's
great
been
conversation.
It's been a good podcast.
Yeah.
We should get you to come on ours, actually.
I'm happy to.
Okay, we'll have to work that out. Have you come on. Okay. That'll be fun.
You might regret it. Might regret it.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
But
what do we got here? Let's go ahead and do our wisdom of the week. Then we'll come back.
Yep, we'll be right back.
Wrap this up and go ahead and hit it, Jeff.
The most important thing is to find out just what is the most important thing. And what you really value is what you miss, not what you have. Good night, everyone.
Yeah, there you go, Jeff. What the important thing is to find out what the important thing is.
That's what I'm working on. I could talk about that a long time. That's a personal project of mine, right? As we speak. Anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But it was great having you on, Dolly.
Gosh, yes, both of you.
Great as always, Preston. You guys are amazing. I love the fact you guys just don't hold back on anything. That's
absolutely.
Awesome.
Speak your mind. I
In
love
touch
it.
with Preston, I went nuts because when I realized who he was and what he said and what he thought and what he knew, I knew he was the right person to talk to. You know.
Yeah. Well,
and he's evolving all the way through this as well. I mean, his abilities have gotten stronger. He's had more encounters. He's had, and he's still doing his research at the same time. And that's what I, find so valuable about him. He doesn't stop. He's very, very hard worker.
Yeah. You think? I know he is. He's still here.
Yes.
He's here. We already answered that flat where Bigfoot fits into this. She already answered that. Go rewind. You must have been throwing a pizza in the oven. Anyhow.
We watch it. Over with. Yeah.
Anyhow, we'll have you guys back.
Absolutely. That was a great conversation. I loved it.
Back if you're
Thank
willing.
you so much for being here.
I had just still a million questions.
Yeah, me too.
Don't have enough time. My bladder says good night. We will be back here next week. Same time, same channel, same place. Please share. Please check out our audio podcast on all the formats. And, we'll see you all here next week. Thanks. Good night, guys.
Thanks, everybody. Good night.
Bye.
Right.
I call you up in the middle of the night. Been bothered by dreams, ain't feeling alright. You give me comfort, say just give it some time. By the end of our talk, I'm feeling just fine.